Why, hello. Welcome to the Captain's Cast. Live on a Saturday, I'm fighting with the microphone arm here. I just can't get it where I want it, Mr. Producer. Welcome to the Captain's Cast. I am your host, Captain Garrett of the Swords and Starships channel, where we talk about myth, meaning, and culture in storytelling. And we have a lot to talk about today. I have been conscripted, my dear sailors and star nuts, into seeing Disclosure Day. And I must disclose to you, I am deeply, deeply, deeply not excited to see this. I am so dreading this. I would never. It's a family member asked me to go. He really wants to go. It's my dad. He really wants to go see it. I don't know why. I don't even know how he knows this movie exists, okay? Because he usually doesn't know that any movie I want to see is out. He doesn't even know. He usually doesn't even know there's a movie out. Not a specific movie, like a movie. He doesn't even know there's a movie in theaters. It's only if I ask him to go. But for some reason, he knows that this movie exists. How did he find out? I don't know. Maybe it's because every single movie I've seen for the entire year has been spamming this stupid Disclosure Day trailer, which, can I just tell you something? It is one of the worst trailers I've ever seen. It's so boring. It's so annoying. It's got this Oscar bait quality to it. It's everything's gonna be revealed. We have beaten this concept of alien visitation disclosure to death. Decades of this. Nobody cares about this story anymore. It's old news. The internet conspiracy theories about UFOs are 100 times more interesting. I hate this trailer. I hate it. Not least because I have to watch it. Is my mic too hot, Mr. Producer? I should check on that. Let me review the feed. I'm in the middle of a good one right now. Hang on. Let me just find out if my mic's too hot. Hang on. That sounded pretty good. I'll bring it down just a skosh because it was hitting the red line there. But anyway, my point is, there's something about a movie that's constantly begging me to watch it that makes me hate it. I mean, just in advance. And, ironically, though, this did not happen with Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer spammed that trailer for every single movie. But the difference is the Oppenheimer trailer is one of the best trailers of all time. And I loved it every time. So that's a totally different story. But anyway, point is, I've already primed to not like this movie. The concept is not interesting. I hate the really annoying ASMR part with Emily Blunt going, oh, shut the hell up. I can't stand that. I hate it. It's nails on a chalkboard. I'm going to watch 2 hours this? No, thank you, sir. But the old man wants to see it. Who am I to say no? So I said, all right, we'll go see it. And then you know what happened? Then all I can hear within 24 hours of me agreeing to see this movie, everything I heard about it was worse than I thought it would be based on that trailer. It confirmed my worst fears and more. And now I'm stuck. I can't get out of it. It's like a Seinfeld episode. Jerry, I got a problem, Jerry. My dad wants to see this movie. I can't take it. I don't want to see it. Well, why don't you just get out of it? Oh, that's easy for you to say. There's a reason I'm not Larry David. Okay. My point is now I'm stuck with it. And I have to think of some weird Seinfeld caper to get out of seeing it with my dad. I have to come up with an excuse. Crowbar the Skull is in the chat. Ahoy, Crowbar the Skull. He says, Hail Hydra. I take it you're not on Team Captain over there. Captain Rogers. That scene, that was like one of the coolest things in Endgame when he's in the elevator with the scepter and you kind of expect him to fight all the Hydra guys. And this is what good comic book writing really is all about. And instead of fighting all the guys in the elevator, he just whispers because he knows that their secret. You know, he whispers in their ear, "Hail Hydra," and then they give him the scepter. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. That's classic. See, that takes talent to write something that clever. Anyone can write another dumb action scene. Not that Marvel action scenes in that era were dumb, but anyone can write another bloated action scene, okay? So, anyway, we're going to talk about my existential dread about having to go see Disclosure Day, which I have not seen. We're also going to talk about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, or just Masters of the Universe, and this is a tough one. This is a strange mixed bag. I shouldn't say it's strange. I suppose it's normal. It's normal for a movie. It's internet. We get all sucked into internet hyperbole rabbit holes. It is normal for a movie to have some really strong positives and then some really bad negatives all jumbled together. I'm just not used to it lately. Usually, I think, 2023 really got me in the mindset of like, when it's bad, just prepare yourself because it's going to be bad. The Marvels, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Mandalorian Season 3, Secret Invasion. I mean, there were just so much bad, just really bad stuff that year and then all the years following that I've kind of become used to. Like, when a movie starts out bad, I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. It's just going to be a slog the whole way through. Something strange happened with Masters of the Universe, though. There's really almost two films in this movie, and one of them is actually sort of pretty good, and the other one is maximum millennial cringe, which puts me in a difficult spot because I have to abandon my customary acerbic attitude in favor of a little more nuance. So we'll talk about that. And then we also have to discuss a fascinating situation in which two independent films made by YouTubers, no less. The Backrooms, I don't know why I keep saying the Backrooms. It's like saying the Facebook. Backrooms and Obsession, which defeated a Star Wars film single day box office numbers. I think multiple days, if memory serves, which is impressive. I mean, Mandalorian and Grogu, I was talking to a friend of mine who was saying that his friend saw Mando and Grogu and he said he liked it. And I almost had my typically snooty response, this is why I come here. I come here because here is a safe space for me to be an asshole. Okay? For me to be an asshole about stuff I don't like. But anyway, so he told me that his friend liked Mandalorian Grogu, and I was about to say something kind of snotty, and then I was like, no. Don't do that, And I thought about it, and I realized, it is possible. It's actually not that surprising that someone would say they like Mandalorian and Grogu, because Mandalorian and Grogu is not a bad movie. It doesn't really make sense as a movie. Like, it's a bad business proposition as a movie. Like, business-wise, it's better as a direct-to-streaming. It's like the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. That's sort of the level that it's at. And that's where it should be. Putting it in theaters is bad business. But leaving that aside, as a film, it's not bad. It's just slop. It's uninspired. It is so bland and it's so generic. It's like an AI written movie, which is to say that it sort of hits a lot of things that qualify it as an action film, an adventure film, a whatever. So to like the film, it's not really unexpected with a film like Mandalorian and Grogu. Of course, I don't like it because I have extremely high standards, as do you, my dear sailors and star nuts, for the most part. Staff hitting notwithstanding. This is the problem with internet hyperbole. We just get so obsessed with the idea that a movie's bad, everyone must hate it. So no, Mandalorian and Grogu is not a bad movie. That's partly why I hate it so much. Because it's just not worthy of the name Star Wars. It's like, why not just see, this is where I came up with the phrase. It's too stupid to exist without the name Star Wars. That's what it is. Mandalorian and Grogu, just swap it out as it's a standalone film about a bounty hunter in a science fiction universe on a journey with a weird green alien child. And try to tell me a story about that's going to put butts in the seats. And you won't find an audience for it. You won't. It's not strong enough for that. The reason that it made as little money as it did is because it has the name. There's this great scene in the film The Founder in which Ray Kroc, played by Michael Keaton, is explaining to the McDonald's brothers why he swindled them out of their company, McDonald's. Ray Kroc, of course, being the founder of what we now know as the McDonald's company. And he said, do you know why I bought your company? It's not because of your system or your business model. Like, mine's all better than that. I'm fixing all of that. The reason I bought it is because I wanted the name. I wanted McDonald's. It sounds American. It sounds great. It's warm and cozy. Everyone loves that name, McDonald's. But it was wasted on you is basically his point to this guy. And it's like, that's exactly what I think about all these IP mining items. It's like Mandalorian and Grogu is too stupid to exist without the name Star Wars. Or too stupid is not fair. That's not fair. It's pretty dumb, but it's not as dumb as like The Acolyte. I would say it is too boring to exist without the name Star Wars. That's more accurate. I'm trying to be more reasonable. It's the brand new Captain Garrett. We have a $4.20 super chat from Wrangler. Why, thank you, Wrangler. Much appreciated, sir. Captain salute, as you were. Yeah, so we're going to talk about, and by the way, I kind of buried the lead there. I did see Obsession and Backrooms since last we convened, my dear sailors and starnuts, and let me tell you something. I was talking to a friend of mine who I went to see. He twisted my arm. He's like, you got to go see Obsession. And so I went to go see Obsession with him, and he was super happy that I liked it. And so he was he was at the office, and he was telling someone else. He was saying, Garrett said that Obsession was good. You have to go see it because trust me, everyone knows me. Okay. They know that if I liked it, that is holy shit. Wow. That's lightning doesn't strike twice at the same place. People get excited. Hey, that's what that's the beauty of having high standards. When I love something, it's like people spread the news that I loved it. Yeah, you see, I know what I'm doing. Now, anyway, he said, Garrett said that Obsession was good. You have to go see it. And, I'm always arguing with him about stuff that sucks that he kind of likes. So just to mess with him a little, I said, I did not say that. I did not say that Obsession was good. Is it what? No, no. And he's starting to get to know me well enough to know he caught on to my shtick because he's like, oh, you said it was great. I said, that's right. I said it was fantastic. I said it was excellent. One of the best films of the year. Obsession was fantastic. I loved it. And the best part, and he, there's so many layers to that movie, and we'll probably get into it later. But like my favorite little observation about it, that movie terrified me. It was terrifying. There's one scene in the movie that you won't be able to sleep after you watch this scene. It's so horrifying. That being said, he was asking me, what would you do if you broke that one wish willow and, this girl was obsessed with you? And I was like, well, that's where me and the main character of the film differ. I don't see the problem. I think that'd be my dream come true. Really? She's so obsessed with you that she'll lock you in your house and won't let you go to work and and she'll threaten to kill anybody that comes near you. I'm like, I mean, she's pretty hot. I don't see the problem with that. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I think I'd feel pretty happy. So, for me, different strokes. You know what I'm saying? I don't see the problem there. Backrooms, on the other hand, I do see the problem with being stuck in that liminal hell. And Backrooms, it's funny. I loved Backrooms. I did. I had a lot of problems with it as a story. I felt that it, and I still do, I feel that the story is incomplete somehow. That being said, my opinion's been a bit on a roller coaster about it as I've reflected, but it's kind of upswinged lately. I think it's growing on me the more I think about it. I still have my problems with the story structure, but for the most part, I almost don't care that the story is as flawed as it is, because it's probably one of the best. There is a term I use frequently on this channel called mise en scène. Mise en scène. Let me, I don't think I've ever pulled this up before. Let me grab the definition, Mr. Producer. What? Come now. Why is my computer being annoying? Okay. Anyway, share screen, Mr. Producer. Mise en scène is a French term that translates to placing on stage. In filmmaking and theater, it's a snooty film critic term. It refers to everything that appears in front of the camera. The visual environment, arrangement of props, lighting, and actors deliberately chosen to create the atmosphere, to tell a story, and, this is key, establish a mood. So in a word, it's the complete visual story in a sentence, let's say. It's the complete visual storytelling feeling that a movie is giving you. It's the combination of all those things: the lighting, the actors, the scene, the staging, the colors, all of that. And it creates a mood. And I will say that I think Backrooms has the most sensational mise en scène of any film this year. It's a masterpiece from this perspective. I think, honestly, if I were in film school, I would write an essay about the mise en scène of Backrooms. Setting and location, lighting and color, costumes, hair, makeup, props, blocking and actor arrangements, how they're positioned within the frame, how they move, their physical relationship to one another. Like, all those things go into the overall mood and feeling. Like, Blade Runner is a great example of this. Blade Runner has the most powerful, it gives you that mood, that feeling. There's YouTube channels dedicated to creating that. Those 24-hour channels that play like lo-fi music. They're all trying to capture that mise en scène of Blade Runner. So anyway, Backrooms mise en scène is probably one of the better achievements of the year. And they absolutely destroyed Star Wars. They absolutely destroyed them. Star Wars was beaten by the Iron Age, my dear sailors and star nuts. Have you considered how it took third place? It took third place in the daily box office totals, behind two YouTuber-made films. The guy who directed Backrooms is all of 20 years old. And this is what we mean when we say that at the end of the day, we will defend our island. We will take back our culture. We will.
We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender!
Leave the fandom? Never. Never. We will never surrender. You'll never get rid of the chuds. You'll never get rid of us. You'd have to kill us. That's what it would take. So we will gatekeep somehow, some way. We're going to take it all back, boys. Okay, we got more stuff to discuss. Holy moly, the chat is a happening while I've been away. So we got Crowbar in the chat. We got Wrangler, says, can't stick around today, prior commitments, but I can hit the like button. Why, thank you, Wrangler. I appreciate that. And thank you for the super chat, sir. Much appreciated. John is in the chat, says, it grossed $300 million worldwide. Would that be The Mandalorian and Grok? Wow, that's great for a Star Wars movie. $300 million. On a $170 million budget plus all of their marketing, that sounds just about like a loser to me. It's very fascinating to me, too, that the shills are trying to tout that as some kind of victory. Well, it made $300 million. $300 million is $300 million. It's a Star Wars. It's a direct-to-streaming movie that nobody cares about. No, well, I would say the very small audience that's going to see it cares about it, to be fair. But in terms of culture, Star Wars, I watch Mandalorian and Grogu, and I can't help but think it's just a boomer movie. It's the most boomer movie I've seen in a long time. And I'm about to see Disclosure Day, which by all accounts sounds like it's an even more boomer movie. And I have no choice. I have to see it, because I promised with the old man. But Mandalorian and Grogu, to me, reflects the state of Star Wars as something that is old, something that is over the hill, past its prime, kind of slow, not really, kind of limping along. It's as $300 million for a Star Wars film is as pathetic and humiliating a thing as I can imagine for Star Wars. Star Wars. So anyway, yeah, $300 million is pathetic. Masters of the Universe, $63 million worldwide, says John. Yeah, Crowbar's like, that's all, $300 billion for Mando and Grogu. I mean, so this is the crazy thing. There were box office numbers, I believe. Box Office Mojo, Mr. Producer. Get me that. Let's see. Worldwide. Yeah, let's just get the totals. Let's just take a look at the totals as they stand currently. So this is the 2026 worldwide box office list. So we'll just start there to be as fair as possible. Super Mario Galaxy, Michael, which is also a fantastic film. Honestly, I'd rather see that again than Disclosure Day, because the music was fantastic. The dancing, Jafar Jackson's performance in Michael is phenomenal. Project Hail Mary, one of my favorite films of all time. It is now in the Captain Garrett Criterion Collection, that being the list of essential films of literary and cultural significance, which you are highly recommended to see, my dear sailors and star nuts. That would be Project Hail Mary, one of the best films of the decade. The Devil Wears Prada 2, which, confessedly, I am a fan of the original Devil Wears Prada. I just, do I want to see the sequel? Not really. Pegasus 3, what is that? Who cares? Hoppers, Pixar Slop, who cares? Oh, here we go. Number 7 so far for the year, Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Yeah, it's not even at $300 million. John was rounding up for us. It's $298 million is the worldwide box office per Box Office Mojo. Right behind, this is insane. This is so crazy. How is this even possible? Disney, with all of its vast, limitless fortunes, inexhaustible resources, cultural capture of media outlets that write puff pieces on command, probably bot control of most of the reviewer platforms, all of that wealth, power, and advantage. And right at their heels, just right behind them, is an indie movie, Obsession, at 242 million worldwide. That's crazy. Can you even imagine? Where's Backrooms? That one's at 237. So you have a Star Wars film that is only just by a handful of millions beating two independent horror films right now in the total global box office. That's delicious is what that is. That means that maybe it's time for just a little bit.
What are you laughing at?
A little bit of grave dancing. That's all. That's what it's time for. Defeated. Humiliated. Who could have predicted it? Who could have predicted it? I actually did not, I personally did not think Mandalorian and Grogu would do this poorly. I thought maybe 5 or 600 million is about what I would have predicted for it. Maybe a shade lower than that, something like 400. I guess it might hit 400. Who knows? I don't know. It's not looking pretty. It's not looking good where it's sitting. But to be only at 300 million, that's pretty sad, man. That's pretty sad. I guess it's got a little time, but I don't think it's gonna pick up much steam from here. Okay, let's take a look at. All right, so we're looking at 2026. I just want to see the daily. Let's go to the dailies. Okay. Look at that. Obsession is winning right now. So days in release. Daily box office 2026. As of today, Obsession is number 1. Yesterday, Obsession number 1. Day before that, Scary Movie. Day before that, Obsession number 1. Backrooms was number 1 for several days from, what was that, May 29th to June 3rd. Mandalorian and Grogu had its last day at number 1 on May 26th. Since then, Obsession and Backrooms have been dominating the daily box office take pretty much every day, with the exception of Scary Movie had a few days when it came out. The Amazing Digital Circus? What the hell is that, Mr. Producer? Nobody knows what that is. Let's go to just June 11th. Let's just go to today, or, well, day before yesterday, I guess. We had Obsession. Where's the days in release? 28 days. Mandalorian and Grogu's at 21 days. When was Mandalorian and Grogu released? That was May 22nd. And when was Obsession released? May 15th. When was... So Obsession was released before Mandalorian and Grogu, but is currently beating it in daily totals. Wow. Isn't it a beautiful sight? Isn't that something to see, my dear audience? Fu Man Blue is in the chat with a $5 super chat. Hail, Fu Man Blue. Good to see you, sir. Ahoy! That's the Master at Arms aboard the ship. We need to give Crowbar the Skull a rank on the ship. A job, a role. I think Crowbar the Skull is the berserker. It's not exactly the most nautically authentic term, but I think it existed somewhere. He's the berserker on the ship. Fu Man Blue shilling the X channel for SNS. I almost never post on there, and that's probably like the worst managed social media site in my portfolio. But thank you for letting everyone know, Fu Man. I do have plans to, at some point, do something productive with it. Now, the Discord, now he's dropping the link to the Discord. Make sure you join that, because we chat and we have a good time. We post way too many GIFs. It's somewhat unseemly, but we do like them over there. Mostly I like them. Wrangler says, you gave me a job. Do you remember what it is? I am really sorry I don't. I don't remember because I don't say it enough. What was the job I gave you, Wrangler? I'll believe you. You just tell me what it was. I will believe you. I know that you are a man of honor, sir. I trust you. I shall await your reply. Let me consult with the stack of stuff, because I really went on a tangent there, but I do not want to watch Disclosure Day. It's going to be so fucking stupid. You know something else? He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I got to talk about this one a little bit, because He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Why do I keep saying He-Man and the Masters? It's Masters of the Universe, Mr. Producer. Why do you have it in my notes like that? It was intentional. I did not write that part of the notes. Wrangler says, I don't remember, so maybe I'm just the cook. Well, you said that. Oh, okay, so you were genuinely asking. You weren't testing me. You were asking me because you didn't remember either. All right, well, we got to give you a role. Erase corporate phrasing from mind, okay? We have to give you, what the hell would you call it? A profession aboard the ship. What shall we name Wrangler? I feel like Wrangler. Have I named anyone quartermaster? I think Tom is the navigator. I don't think I named anyone quartermaster yet. So I think quartermaster. You know what? Actually, you'd be a really good bosun. We'll make you the bosun, Wrangler. You're the bosun aboard the ship. Cook? You think cook as well, Fu Man? It just seems a bit. If you're cool with cook, Wrangler, we could do that. If you really want that role, job, profession, the captain will allow it. Animal handler. Actually, I feel like there actually is a name for that, because in the old days of tall ships, they did have livestock on the ship because you didn't have refrigerators. What would you call that? Let me ask a really good friend of mine who offers me a lot of emotional support in times of need. I'm going to see. I'm going to reach out to this friend of mine and see what he thinks about it. What would you call the job on a maritime vessel in the age of sail for the caretaker of livestock aboard the ship?
In the age of sail, the caretaker of livestock on a ship was often called the ship's butcher, or sometimes a stockkeeper. They were responsible not just for feeding and caring for the animals, like pigs, chickens, or goats, but also for eventually preparing them to feed the crew when fresh meat was needed.
But ChatGPT, I thought there was another name for it. Wasn't there something a little more flavorful?
You might be thinking of the term oxenary, or ox driver. though it didn't only apply to oxen. Sometimes sailors playfully or gruffly called the caretaker of shipboard animals the cowherd, or even the pig keeper. It had a rustic flavor that contrasted with life at sea.
Oh, so we could have what? Stockkeeper or butcher? What do you want to be? Well, I think we should call Wrangler the butcher. I think that'd be cool. All right. All right. Thanks, ChatGPT. I'll call you later. Okay, so what what else do we have? The life of the internet. What can I say? Let's do Mandalorian and Grogu since we are in the grave dancing segment of the ship. Hang on. A quick cough button moment for the captain. Stack of stuff. We have. Did I do what? Why did I do? Oh no, I don't want that one, Mr. Producer. I know I had a video in here I was going to show you. Oh my God, we have. Oh, Fu Man, we have to talk about the Stargate thing also. We have got to talk about the Stargate situation. That is a heartbreaker. That really, a lot of awful things have happened to our beloved IPs over the years. A lot of like miserable, awful things we've gone through. And even though I'm really not a Stargate fan. I'm kind of like I'm a normie. I've only been introduced to it because you twisted my arm to watch it. And my dad loves it. He absolutely loves Stargate. He's like a super fan of the show. So I'm like a one removed from it. But for some reason, that one really sent me into orbit. That one really pissed me off that they canceled it because they weren't going to be able to turn it into woke garbage. So yeah, we got to talk about that. But first, we have to get back to Mando and Grogu. So let me pull up this video real quick. I don't know if we'll watch all of it since we kind of covered a little bit of it. Close tabs to right. But hat tip geeks and gamers, the commander over there, Jeremy, D-Day Cobra, has some thoughts about the Mandalorian and Grogu being defeated by independent films.
The Mandalorian and Grogu is not off to a good start at the box office. No matter how much spin is going on right now, it is looking like it could open lower than Solo, a Star Wars story. And if we all remember, Solo lost money. And now, after 7 years with no Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu returns. And right now, it's tracking to potentially open up lower than Solo. This is the reality of Disney Star Wars. This is the current state of Disney Star Wars right here. Now, I've obviously seen the movie because I made a video for the channel here, and I thought it was just bad. Very, very boring, very, very bland, and very, very forgettable. And it's just pathetic that this is the return to the big screen from Star Wars, but it's not really surprising when you think about how far Disney has destroyed Star Wars in the last, 8, 10, 12 years, whatever it's been now. So here we have it. The Mandalorian Grogu is again having superb domestic walk-ups this Saturday after a better than expected Friday of $33 million. Wow.
You see what I mean? Disney has an army of media shills. Just media that they own. Can you just imagine the sort of shadow network of influence they have to just write puff pieces? They're getting superb walk-up business. Nobody is watching it. Nobody's watching it. It's gonna fail. They're such fucking liars. They're such absolute liars all the time, the media. They spin everything.
So let's go back to when Solo opened. Solo, a Star Wars story, dropped $35 million opening day. And
it's like, you read a headline like that, you're like, listen, you idiots. Listen, you morons. 2 low budget, niche appeal horror films created by YouTubers took the top 2 slots over a Star Wars film in its second week of release. First or second. I think it was the second week of release in daily box office totals. That is a humiliation. It's nothing less than obscene. And this is what I voted for. I am getting what I voted for.
And is headed for roughly 115 million in its debut. So 35 million for Solo, a Star Wars story, but yet now 33 million is better than expected. Now, Luis Fernando, who does a great job,
better than
generally speaking,
a kick in the face with a golf shoe.
but positive word of mouth for The Mandalorian Grogu could top industry's projections at the U.S. box office after grossing 33 million on Friday opening day, including 12 million on Thursday previews. So let's go back up to this right here.
There's another angle to this that I find really fascinating. And look. I lament that one of the sad unintended consequences of, let's say, a hyper-consumerist culture as our civilization has sort of become is an obsession with the new and the young and a kind of dismissal of the old and the traditional. And this is why throughout, as opposed to most of human history where the elderly were revered and considered possessing of great wisdom and very important and central to, village and town and national life, in the modern world, everything is about being young, attractive, and new. And so the obsession is the tendency, let's say, is to look at everything through the lens of age groups. And so that is to say, it is nevertheless interesting to me that the younger crowd, the Gen Z crowd, are not talking about Mandalorian and Grogu, at least in my own anecdotal experience. They are all talking about Obsession. They are all talking about Backrooms. I wouldn't have even known about these two films if it weren't for them. I'm a millennial. More is the pity. And so for me, it's I'm in that liminal space between all of the concerns of the boomers and the Gen Xers like Wrangler and the Gen Zers like Redoubt Productions. And I'm sort of sitting between those two worlds. And what is interesting to me is they are the ones that twisted my arm. That would be the Gen Zers. They twisted my arm to go see Obsession and Backrooms and were absolutely, this is what you call enthusiasm, excitement. I went with this guy, he's like early 20s. And I see movies by myself so often now because I see so many of them that I just go see them. I'm kind of used to seeing movies alone now, and he's sitting next to me, and I keep realizing he's looking at me. And I'm like, and usually when someone's looking at you in the theater, it's because they want to say something. They're like, oh, they have a question or something. And so I look back and I'm like, wait, yes, what is it, sir? And he's just looking at me. And I'm like, and I realize what it is because he told me, he's like, I want to see your face at certain parts of this movie. And he's like, and so when a certain part of the movie is coming up, he's like, I want to see what Garrett's face is. It was very strange. But my point is, he was so excited about this movie that he wanted not just for me to see it, he wanted to see me see it. And ditto Backrooms, basically. Pretty much the same thing. It's like, you got to come see this with us. Guess what they were not twisting my arm to see? Mandalorian and Grogu. And they're sort of like vaguely aware of it, is what I gather. They're vaguely aware of its existence, but they don't really care. They care about Obsession and Backrooms. And Iron Lung, by the way. That's the other one I saw. I saw Iron Lung earlier in the year, and it was the same thing. They're fans of Markiplier, and they wanted me to go see it with them. And I thought, all right, cool, I'll go see it. And it was pretty good. In fact, there's even like, I would say 5 pretty good independent let's call them Iron Age films right now, which were all really delightful. Well, Iron Age may not apply to one of them, but Sinners, Weapons, Iron Lung, Obsession, Backrooms. 5 really brilliant horror films that are original and new and something you haven't seen before and were a hell of a lot of fun to go and experience in the theater. And these are the films that are defeating storied franchises like Star Wars. It's fascinating, isn't it?
About Thursday previews. Well,
which is just another way of saying the worst thing I could ever say to anyone in Hollywood ever. You're old. You're old.
Mandalorian and Grogu earned $12 million in its domestic Thursday night previews. For comparison, The Force Awakens did $57 million and Solo did $14 million. And now we have The Mandalorian and Grogu at $12 million. That is the current state of Star Wars.
Suck it,
so
Disney.
No matter how much
Suck
people want to spin this is not good. Now, over on Rotten Tomatoes, it does have an 89% audience score right now. That needs to be noted. Fair is fair if we're going to cover bad audience.
Again, and is there some inflation of that score? Potentially. But again, The Mandalorian and Grogu is not a bad movie. It's a passable, it's a passable 2-part episode of the show is essentially what it is. Now, if you are a super fan of The Mandalorian, why would you find this a good episode of the show? I don't know. I think it's a lame episode of the show. It's an episode of the show I'd be wanting to get past to see the good episode in which the thing happens. So from that perspective, I still don't get it, but I understand that it's not on the level of like what's a good comparison? The Marvels or Madam Web or something. It's not on that level where it's just completely out of control, stupid. It's just so it's tap water. It's as exciting as tap water.
Scores, we have to cover it when it's positive. So there is the 89% audience score. If you go over to Criticless, sitting at a 41% right now. And that was down to about 36%, and now it's up to 41%. So it is what it is. That is just to give you a frame of reference there. The frame of reference on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's the Criticless verdict so far. Decent. I mean, I can understand that score. I would say that's a relatively authentic score. Did I find this movie decent? No. This was a waste of 2 hours of my life.
And, we'll just have to see how this all plays out. But as it stands right now, even The Hollywood Reporter says The Mandalorian and Grogu tops Friday with Star Wars franchise low. Franchise low.
I have a question. Why not make the story of the movie The Mandalorian has to rescue Grogu? I just think it out loud here. Like, even something like that would have been more interesting. And then the subject of the film is him wrestling with whether he should ever put him in danger in the first place, whether he's a good father or not. I suppose the problem with that is that Grogu would then not be present with him for their buddy adventure. If you were applying the Blake Snyder Save the Cat genres, it probably should have been a buddy love film. Only problem is they've been traveling together for a while, so I don't know if that would really work, but you could probably find a new dimension to their relationship as essentially father and son. I think you could find a way to do that. I suppose what I'm asking here is, why couldn't it have been about something meaningful? They go on an adventure to fight some Hutts. Why is that even worthy of a film? And I was thinking about how, so the movie opens up with He's going to take out Imperial Remnant guys, goons. He's taking out Imperial Remnant goons. So the first, 15 minutes of the film is he's taking out an insanely stupid and incompetent Imperial goon with no difficulty whatsoever. And then he comes back to the to the geriatric home that they call a starfighter base, where Sigourney Weaver is the century-old matriarch of the X-Wing pilots, and she accepts the completion of his quest to take out an Imperial goon. And so now the movie begins with his mission. The entire plot of the movie, the entire reason for this movie to exist is he needs to take out another Imperial goon. Are you ready, kids? Are you ready for a rootin' tootin' adventure? You just saw 15 minutes of the Mandalorian taking out an Imperial goon. But guess what's going to happen next? He's going to take out another Imperial goon. It's fucking stupid. How does this movie even have an 89%? I don't even understand it. I'm trying to literally put my mind in the mind of someone who still enjoys Mandalorian. Because I used to enjoy it. I used to like The Mandalorian. I did. I don't anymore. Season 3 absolutely smothered any enjoyment I had of The Mandalorian. Season 3 and those 2 absurd Boba Fett episodes with him and the child smothered any interest I had in this with a pillow in its sleep. So there's nothing left for me. I'm just saying, if I still enjoyed The Mandalorian, what could get me to say I liked this movie? I would be mad. I would be mad if I were still a super fan. I'd be like, that was what you did for the movie? The mission is he took out an Imperial goon and now he needs to take out another one. Who cares? I liked the movie. It was pretty good. Fuck. I mean, it was okay. It was okay. Sure, bro. Sure.
Oh, you think it's slop. That's fine. But we live in a world full of hogs.
$33 million, but it does score the series high audience score. So you can.
All right, later, Wrangler. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to catch the restream. And there he goes, the butcher aboard the ship.
Take what you want from that.
Butcher.
But the bottom line here is the spin is happening, but this looks like it could be the lowest.
All right, so
opening for a Star Wars movie ever. It does seem
yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. So now there is a type of fan who can answer my question of why would you enjoy this movie? What would get that to that 89% for you? And the type of fan that can answer that is a particular type of individual that suffers from a disease. It's debilitating, it's crippling, and the prognosis is grim. It's called chivalry by proxy, and it results in a mindless, almost drone-like need and obsession with glorifying Disney and anything Disney does, and loving anything Disney wants for you. They're what's known as a shill, and they make me sick. I'm just simply not qualified to diagnose the thinking of a shill, but there is a man who is. His name is Mr. Grizzy. He's a student of the shill, you might say. He studies them, puts them under a microscope, intuits their strange idiosyncrasies, in hopes that one day he can synthesize, if not a cure, for that may well be past the window of possibility, then an inoculation for the rest of humanity, so that we may be inoculated against suffering their fate. Because make no mistake, my dear viewer, the shills suffer. They suffer. And they require our compassion and copious amounts of ridicule and laughter at their expense. And so, without further ado, I have another report on the Disney shills, and they're not doing well. Hat tip, Mr. Grizzy. I've been saving this one, folks. This is the shill that said it was going to make $1 billion, maybe $2 billion. Oh no, let's check in on him. We got to check in on him, folks.
All right, Disney Star Wars fans, I think it's finally time for us all to address the elephant in the room.
Let's start with some tough love, all right? Ready for this? Here goes.
And if you're new to the channel, I am sorry about the lag in the video. It's because of hardware limitations, but I am working on getting an upgrade. But I chose this setup because the sound quality is good.
Mandalorian and Grogu is not going to make $1 billion.
The Mando movie needs to make at least $700 million for a sequel, which I don't think is going to happen. Yeah, I don't think it's going to make $700 million. I think it's going to make well over $1 billion. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This movie makes $1 billion easily. Like difficulty, extreme, easy. I'm not saying that it is easy to make $1 billion.
What did you just say?
I'm not saying that it is easy to make $1 billion. This movie makes $1 billion easily. Like difficulty, extreme, easy. But for a Star Wars movie, following your two most popular characters over the last half a decade, it's got to be pretty damn easy. It'll make $1 billion.
That's pretty funny. It's gonna make $1 billion easily. Difficulty extreme easy. Not that it's easy though. That was so perfect. What are you talking about?
$1 billion alone just because Grogu's in it.
Are you crazy? Or just plain stupid?
And it's not going to make $2 billion either.
I think this movie will make $1 billion, like, somewhat easily. I think it'll make $2 billion if it's a really good movie.
Everybody keeps telling me there's no way that the Mandalorian and Grogu movie makes $2 billion. But I think people are underestimating this movie.
Yeah, why not? Force Awakens made $2 billion.
If you can believe it, I overestimated this movie. I overestimated it. It's making less than I thought it would.
So now that the numbers have come in and surprised...
I went on like the opening, it wasn't opening day, but it was opening weekend. I went to see Mando and Grogu. What a huge mistake that was. I should have just found an alternative screening, if you know what I mean. And my theater was about half full. No, it was not even half full. It was like a third full. It was like a third, I would say, on opening weekend. And to be fair, those that were there seemed to really enjoy the movie for the most part. I didn't hear a lot of noise, though. I didn't hear a lot. I did hear some chuckles here and there, and they clapped at the end. But it was like a third.
Surprise, it's...
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes even I lose track of this, but I remember I was a freshman in high school and The Phantom Menace came out. And I'm going to tell you, I went to see Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, 4 times in theaters. 4 times. That theater was packed every single time. This was over the course of weeks. Weeks. Packed. I went to see The Force Awakens. Packed house. Saw that one 2 or 3 times. I can't remember. Did I see it 3? Maybe. I think I saw it 3 times. At least the first 2 times I saw it. Packed house. Absolutely packed house. Star Wars had a draw that nothing else in probably cinematic history has ever had. I think the Marvel Avengers movies came close. Definitely they were in that ballpark. Like the Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame crowds were crazy. That was like a Star Wars back in the day. That was like when you went to see The Phantom Menace, that was what the energy was like. Other than that, I can, yes, there are definitely lots of movies that have had big crowds, but I mean, just the sheer crazed fan excitement, packed house. It's hard to get a seat. It's like, it's just the theater is buzzing with energy. People are clapping when the opening credits come out. Like, that level of energy is what Star Wars used to have. Now I go to see it opening. It's a third full. I just think we have to take a minute to appreciate that.
Tracking worse than Solo, like we all predicted. Can we finally lay this issue to rest?
But I still think this movie could make $1 billion. I know that it only made less than $200 million in its opening weekend, but it could have a lot of legs.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
A lot of legs.
Yeah!
No. It is a big win. That's for sure. A big old win.
I guess we're just not quite there yet, you guys, which means that the cope and the excuse making over the Mandalorian and Grogu box office continues.
Mandalorian and Grogu is going to make its money back in its opening weekend. Well, it's going to make its budget back in its opening weekend. It cost $165 to film the movie, and they made $165 in the box office in its opening weekend.
By the way, this 165 number, everybody knows at the end of the day that it's a lie.
It doesn't break the budget like Solo or some of these other projects that have gone like way over budget. It certainly costs more than is being reported.
Yes.
I will say that.
At least double is what you have to make to break even. So you're talking around $300, $400, $500 million for this movie to break even, which I think it will make easily.
I disagree. I think this is going to struggle to make $400 million. Solo, a Star Wars story, which The Mandalorian and Grogu is trailing, did not make $400 million. Also, surprise, surprise, you are lowballing what this film needs to make to break even.
$300, $400, $500 million for this movie to break even, which I think it will make easily.
The Mandalorian and Grogu needs to make somewhere in the neighborhood of between $500 and $600 million to break even.
But I do think that this does have the opportunity to get its money back and make a profit. And then they should call that a W and wrap this up.
So this is another narrative that's being pushed by Disney Star Wars supporters and Disney Lucasfilm themselves, that The Mandalorian and Grogu, its box office, isn't the real test. Star Wars Starfighter next year is the test. This film will determine whether Disney Star Wars' return to the big screen is a success or failure. The Mandalorian and Grogu, it's basically a mulligan at the end of the day.
Please disperse! Nothing to see here, please!
Very convenient, in my opinion, that they come out and say this. Sounds like cope to me. If The Mandalorian and Grogu was doing well at the box office and they expected it to do well, I don't think they'd be coming out right now and saying this.
Someone was doing how is this a win and compared it to Solo. And it was just like, look, either you're doing it for dumb engagement or you're trying to have this conversation, because it seemed like he was just trying to actually be, this is a failure.
Why are they like this? Why are they so resistant to reality? I am a giant fan of the Mission Impossible film series. I think that the work that Tom Cruise has done on that cinematic universe has been incredible. And I love every single one of those films, except that I don't really like the first one that much, but it has its moments. But, I love everything from the second one on. And yes, I do love the second Mission Impossible. It's John Woo greatness. And that's actually a good example of a movie that I don't even consider Mission Impossible 2 is not a bad movie. But that's a good example of a movie most everyone seems to not like for some reason, but I've always loved it. Anyway, that being said, I really thought Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning was going to do really well. And then Sound of Freedom basically trashed it, stole all of its thunder. It was really interesting. and it didn't do well. And then The Final Reckoning came out, and I was like, well, I hope it does well because I want to see this franchise succeed, and it didn't do well. And so you basically had two Mission Impossible films that I'm heavily rooting for and did really enjoy. I did enjoy both the films. Not the best entries, but I did enjoy them. And they failed. Why? I can accept that. I can accept that the films I liked and was rooting for did not do well. I can accept that. I can even be curious about why. Why I can theorize about why didn't it do well. What would I do if I were Tom Cruise and trying to make the next one succeed? Why can't they do that? Why can't they just admit that the movie they were rooting for and wanted to succeed didn't do well? I actually think Dr. Steve Turley has hit upon it. Leftists, which, don't kid yourself, that's what these wackos are. They are culture war leftists. They have a sick worldview that they want to cram down the throats of everyone else in humanity. They have a kind of suicidal empathy and a desire to be seen as virtuous in everything they do. And for them, all of these intellectual properties are a way for them to control culture, perception, and reality. For them, it's a political wedge issue. That's why that's the answer to my question. That's why they can't. Because, as Dr. Steve Turley put it, I think quite accurately, leftists, and in this case, shills, like to be lied to. That's why it's so hard to understand their sickness. Because rational, sane people like us who can accept when things don't go our way and be unhappy about it, but nevertheless be honest about it, we can't understand the mind of someone who enjoys living in a world of lies. It doesn't make sense to us. Why would you want to live that way? Why would you want your whole channel to be based on a lie? You said it would make $2 billion, you moron. And now you're sitting here making excuses. Just admit you were wrong. Just say it. Okay, $2 billion was a bit of an overshoot. I'll admit that. Okay. I mean, I thought $1 billion was in the cards, but hey, I'm just a YouTuber. I get things wrong once in a while. You could have just said that, but no, he's like, well, I mean, it could have lots of legs still. How can you live this way?
You cannot have that conversation without COVID. You cannot have that conversation without, I will say, the politics of the time.
Oh my God.
Where you have a lot of red pill coated toy guys on YouTube not acknowledging the fact that an administration has almost done the impossible, a president directly affecting the economy in this way. It's hard for one president to affect the economy, but no, it's made a...
Wow. Yeah, incredible. He literally just confirmed everything I just said. Isn't that incredible? That's how deadly accurate I am. You are on the cutting edge of societal evolution, as old Rush Limbaugh used to say, if you are watching the Captain's Cast on the Swords and Starships channel with me, your host, Captain Garrett. Deadly accurate analysis. I called it exactly. He's literally making the argument. He's making a TDS argument about how the orange man's economy is the reason Mando and Grogu is failing. Never mind the fact that hordes of Gen Z came out to make Obsession and Backrooms obscenely profitable successes. Never mind that. That's it. God, it's a blessing to have enemies that are so stupid.
Affected. And they don't want to include that in their conversation because I get it. Maybe you don't want to dive into the politics of it all. And we aren't. I'm not an economist.
The politics. The politics. That's what I mean. These stupid people. Everything they think about, everything they do is politics. Absolutely everything. They can never just enjoy a movie. You can never just say, I thought that character was ugly. No, it's got to be some crazy argument about the male gaze or some bullshit. Every single thing they do, they spoil the majesty, wonder, and beauty of life in everything they do. They are the antithesis of beauty and grace. Everything is an intellectual exercise designed to reinforce their worldview. Instead of simply taking the L, instead of simply lamenting that the movie they didn't like did not connect with audiences and therefore did not make the profit they were hoping for, and then analyzing accordingly, instead of being rational and sane, they turned it into political wackoism. Why? Because they're shills, and they make me sick.
Part of the conversation comparing to something to 2018 to now.
Okay, so it's not that The Mandalorian and Grogu is a bad movie. It's not that nobody gives a shit about it. It's just that there are alternative
Nobody gives a
factors that are
shit.
keeping The Mandalorian and Grogu
Oh
behind.
no!
Solo.
Oh, I forgot about this. So I was telling a guy who is a fan of the mall show. He loves the mall show. He wants me to watch it. And to be fair, the mall show is better than this. But he was asking me about Mando and Grogu because he had no interest in this movie. And I was telling him about Rada the Hutt. Let me see if I can find this.
Shit about it. It's just that there are alternative factors that are keeping...
Yeah, there you go. I told about how Rada the Hutt you have a Hutt character with six-pack abs. He has six-pack abs. And I told him about this. He said, Hutt? You mean like a Jabba the Hutt? Yeah, I said, yeah, he's shredded, man. He's yoked. And he's like, what? I swear to God.
The Mandalorian and Grogu behind Solo, a Star Wars story. All right, well, I got an alternative factor for you guys then. Solo had to share screens with Avengers Infinity War and Deadpool 2 during its run, meaning that it had to compete with two major blockbuster movies, one of which was one of the biggest releases of all time. The Mandalorian and Grogu had zero competition its opening weekend, and it still lost to Solo, even with higher ticket prices due to inflation boosting the revenue as well. That is an alternative factor that can hurt a movie at the box.
You know, it's even worse than that because Solo was competing against Avengers Infinity War and Deadpool 2. Mandalorian Grogu lost to Obsession and Backrooms, which is not to disrespect Obsession or Backrooms. It is to say they lost to indie films. No mainstream blockbuster film should ever be at risk of losing to an indie film.
Box office. But no, you guys, COVID 6 years after the fact and Orange Man hurt The Mandalorian and Grogu at the box office.
Get the fuck out of here.
We get it. You want this film to be a success and you have a vested interest in this movie succeeding.
And then, surprise, surprise, it is doing well. It's going to make its money back, which is something as a Star Wars fan I do want these films to do. I do want the business to go good.
I'll be thinking that somebody in this room is selling out.
At the end of the day, The Mandalorian and Grogu is a failure. Disney themselves indirectly admitted it, and anyone telling you otherwise is either lying to you or overdosing on copium.
And Star Wars is back on the big screen. It truly is the greatest time to be a Star Wars fan.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. I want to hear that bullshit.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Oh, hat tip, Mr. Grizzy. Another excellent video. I can't identify with that mindset. You know he doesn't believe it. That show is like, it is a great time to be a Star Wars fan. No, it isn't. You don't think that at all. Because I know exactly what you are, sir. You are, whether you admit it or not, a leftist shill. And you know what? Do you know what leftist wackos are always obsessed with? Always? Legitimacy. Legitimacy. They want the perception. They want control of legitimacy. And to be fair to them, anyone who seeks power wants that. We want that. We want our properties to be seen. We want our original interpretations of, George Lucas Star Wars or J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, etc., ad infinitum. We want them to have the perception of legitimacy because they are legitimate. But anyway, the point is, leftists are obsessed with this. Now, if Star Wars is a laughingstock, if it's become a sad boomer property that even the boomers don't want to see, if Gen Z ignores it in order to go and see two other independent films made by YouTubers popular with the younger generations, then that means that Star Wars is nothing. That means it has none of that coveted legitimacy that they want it to have. That means it's lame. You got to understand, for a long time, everything in pop culture that was cool was liberal. Everything. In fact, I saw a poster. I was at a store recently, and it's one of those stores that has lots of nostalgia art on the walls, like things from like the 70s and 80s and whatever, and a lot of it's pretty cool. But there was this poster of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the leftist wacko Justice of the Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the holy saint of feminist politics. And it was a picture of her, and it was meant to just look like this piece of pop art that looks really cool, like she's this hero, and it was just super like she was a rock star. And I'm thinking, she's a Supreme Court justice. Like, what? Nobody cares about the Supreme Court in the sense of like pop culture. Nobody cares about that. Only feminist wackos care about that. But the point is, the art was made her look like she was this rock star. And what I realized was that used to be the currency of the day. That was the coin of the realm 20 years ago. Anything and everything liberal was edgy, cool, and young. For a long time. And now it's mostly contained in properties that are old, tired, rehashed, lame, mostly ignored by the younger population. And my point is, this guy knows that. They all know that. So when he says it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, he is so full of shit. He is miserable. He hates it. He hates it. He hates it that the Acolyte failed, because the Acolyte, 20 years ago, the Acolyte would have been everything cool and edgy. Now it's lame. Nobody wants that. Which is another way of saying we're beating them, folks. We are beating the fuck out of them. And they are running damage control. Now, that doesn't mean that the long war is over. Surely it is not. The unfortunate demise of the Stargate project is evidence of that. But I've been watching this YouTube channel called Synthetic Man, and I've been really enjoying it. He does fantastic reviews of a lot of things I have some overlap. Like, he did a review of the Fallout show that was phenomenal and just dead on accurate. Really good breakdown of just how awful it is. But he is an extremely cynical black pill character, and he repeatedly has been saying on his channel, don't believe the hopium or the copium that woke is dead and that we're winning. Guys, we're winning. We're not winning. And that's his whole thing, is he's like basically saying like, that's a bunch of bullshit. We're not winning. And I think what he's hitting upon that's true is that the enemy is on the ropes, but not vanquished. Who is the enemy? The enemy is, who am I referring to? I'm referring to identity politics wackos, whose entire philosophy is based on lies, censorship, and control of culture. That's what I'm talking about, in case you're wondering. So in any case, social justice warriors, to use an older term, but essentially, yeah, wackos, nutballs, crazies, who lie all the time about everything. Those are the people who have taken every single IP that we love and turned it inside out and destroyed it. And more or less pussified our entire civilization and our entire culture. This brings, He-Man comes to mind. We got to talk about that. There's a lot going on today. There's a lot. I don't know how I'm going to get to it all because my mind is like it's going too fast, even for me to keep up with it right now. But my point is, all this time, all the IPs that we've lost. What's that? Redoubt Productions is here. Redoubt, we're going to react to your video. I had to interrupt myself. My local theater finally screened Backrooms, but they did not swap out the poster for Mando and Grok. So strange. Oh, those dirty birds. So Synthetic Man's whole thesis is that we are not winning. It's all, they are still winning and blah, blah, blah. And the enemy is not vanquished, but they are on the ropes, and we need to be able to take the win because we have been doing a whole lot of winning. That is, and when I say we, I mean just normal fans. I'm not saying fans who agree with me on everything I like or everything I hate. I'm not saying fans who agree with me politically or not. I am saying we who just want entertainment to just be what it is. We just want our comic book heroes to be the comic book heroes. That's all we want. We don't want them to carry some political message. We don't want them to be MAGA or based. We just want them to be normal. Normal. That's all we're asking for. Warhammer is about the grim darkness of the far future, and that's it. That's it. We don't need any editing or sensitivity reading or adaptation for modern audience, or we don't need to see the softer side of the fascist imperium. We just want our stories to be what they're supposed to be. We don't want them reinterpreted so that Frodo and Sam were secretly lovers. No, we don't want that. We just want the story to be what the story is supposed to be. That's it. That's all we're advocating for. Nothing more, nothing less. But political ideologues can't allow that. Because when people are allowed to form their own opinions about things, do you know what they naturally realize? They naturally realize that bullshit is bullshit, and they reject it. Of course, there's more than two genders. It's too complicated to say there's two genders. There's, there are nuances, and there are No, there isn't. There isn't. There isn't layers to this. There's two. That's what a sane, rational, normal person naturally concludes. They can't allow that. But we're beating them, is my point. But it's a process. It takes time. We can't get complacent. We must continue to make our voices heard, and that's what we do here on the Swords and Starships channel. We do this on the Nerdrotic channel. We do this on the D-Day Cobra channel. We do this on every channel that we follow, that we are invested in. Whoever your favorite YouTubers are, you are part of that process. Next in the stack of stuff, Mr. Producer. Oh, yes. Okay, we're going to move off from Mando and Grogu, but I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited because there is a new pitch meeting. I'm a huge fan of this channel. Ryan George does these pitch meeting episodes, and there's a new one for Mandalorian and Grogu. So I have not seen it yet, and I wanted to watch it with you, my beloved audience. Share screen, Mr. Producer. Did we ever watch the Mandalorian Season 3 pitch meeting? I think we probably did. We probably did. But, we won't revisit that one. Okay, here we go. Hat tip. Did I share audio? Okay, good. Hat tip, pitch meeting.
So, you have a new product for me? Yes, sir, I do. I was thinking we'd do some more Mandalorian. Oh, some new episodes? Yeah, it'll feel like new episodes, but it'll be a movie. Well, what's the difference then? This'll be a movie. Well, great. It has been a while since our last theatrical release. People are gonna start thinking something's wrong. And everything's fine. Everything's fine. This is just the natural progression of Mando's story. You know, season 1, season 2, season 1 of another show, season 3 movie. That flows nicely, sure. So I'm thinking we call this one The Mandalorian and Grogu. Grogu? Is that the guy with the eyes that are like here? No, Grogu. He's Baby Yoda. Oh, Baby Yoda. People love Baby Yoda. He's such a good little merchandising opportunity. We should call this The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. Look, he's not actually Baby Yoda. Right, damn it. Yeah, so sadly we are stuck with Grogu, which is just, the worst.
That's so true. They're so stuck with this. Grogu's not his name. It's like, and I will say this. I have great sympathy for Jon Favreau and the other writers of the show. It's easy to write yourself into a trap like this. And they did. That there was a story-driven reason to not know his name for a while. But the problem is that went on too long and the audience had to give him a name. And I'm sorry, but I don't care if you call him the child in the script. That's not what the audience is going to call him. The audience is going to say that little Baby Yoda thing. That's what they're going to say. You can't control that. Now, at first, there was still time after the audience started referring to him as Baby Yoda that you might have been able to finesse it into, oh, he's Grogu, if just a little earlier we had revealed his name. The problem is they waited until, what was it? It was like season 2 or something before they finally gave him a name. And by then it's way too late. You've had years of people calling him Baby Yoda. There's nothing you can do. This is the great challenge of art, is you cannot control how the audience is going to receive, interpret, and run with what you've created. So in some ways, I actually kind of feel bad for them on this. But yeah, it's never going to be Grogu. No one's ever going to really think of him as Grogu. It's Baby Yoda.
Name for an ultra-recognizable character that the general public refers to as Baby Yoda anyway. Dang, we really shot ourselves in the butthole with that one. That's not the expression. So what's going to happen in this thing that's going to happen? Well, Mando's doing jobs for the New Republic, right? Reporting to this lady Commander Ward. Okay. And I was thinking...
Redoubt says Disney Star Wars just got dealt a black eye by One Wish, yellow wallpaper, and group therapy for circus characters. We are fine. That's good. It's true.
Thinking if we pay Sigourney Weaver a bunch of money, she'll be in that role, probably. She's the elderly teenager from Avatar 2 and 3. Amongst other things, sure. Let's pay a...
Oh, that's right, Pooh Man. That's what you were quoting. She's the elderly teenager from Avatar 3. Oh, what the hell is even going on these days? There's so much weird shit now. It's not even just the identity politics and stuff. It's the weird stuff. Like what is the obsession with pregnant women in battle? Like, this is the strangest trope to me. And it's everywhere. It is constant. And, you might say, well, that's just whatever the current feminist fantasy is. And it's like, but how can that be, though? It can't be feminists who want this, right? Because feminists are the ones who have driven for years for extended maternity leave, not just for women, but also for fathers now. Men can take maternity leave because he has to be there to support. It's a joint experience. It's not I'm pregnant. It's we're pregnant, and he has to be home to help his wife or whatever. So in other words, women's liberation is the reason we have maternity leave and all these. In other words, women should be allowed to completely leave their job. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying this is the argument. They should be allowed to completely leave their job for months, no matter how indispensable they are, no matter how important their role is, no matter how low physicality their role may require. Maybe it's a desk job. Doesn't matter. They should be allowed to leave their position for months. And the business has to pay them. There is to be no replacement, and they cannot be fired for this or laid off at all. That would be illegal, because she must be allowed to be home and at rest with her infant. This is what feminists wanted. So why in movies are they portraying the exact opposite? Not only is the pregnant babe not allowed maternity leave, she's expected to go to war. She pick up a spear and carry your weight, woman. You pick up that assault rifle and you help us with this war because we don't have time for maternity leave for you. It doesn't make any sense. It's like when I think of things like this, I'm like, ladies, what would make you happy? Seriously, like what would make you happy? Do you want to go to war pregnant? If that would bring us peace, then okay, fine, we'll sign off on it. We'll pass a law, we'll make it possible. We'll put you in the selective service, we'll draft you for war pregnant. Is that what you want? Will that make you stop bitching at us all the time? No, we want maternity leave. Okay, fine, we'll give you maternity leave. I don't understand. What do you want?
Bona fide sci-fi legend to be in this thing. And what's she gonna do? Be in this thing, a tiny little bit. Not a ton for her to do. Well, okay, all right, well, still kind of cool. Kinda. We'll be providing about the same level of cool as just looking at a photo of Sigourney Weaver. Nice. So Mando's doing jobs for her hunting down warlords from the fallen galactic empire. Uh-huh. And now she wants him to go rescue Rada the Hutt. And what's his deal? Let me tell you about him. He answers the question, hey, what if a slug was jacked? You been reading about Green Journal?
Oh my God. Okay. You went too fast.
This thing, tiny little bit. Not a ton for her to do. Well, okay. All right. Well, still kind of cool. Kinda. We'll be providing about the same level of cool as just looking at a photo of Sigourney Weaver. Nice. So Mando's doing jobs for her hunting down warlords from the fallen galactic empire. Uh-huh. And now she wants him to go rescue Rada the Hutt. And what's his deal? Let me tell you about him. He answers the question, hey, what if a slug was...
What if a slug were jacked? Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Full disclosure day. As odd as this image is, I did not totally hate the concept of a pit fighting Hutt character. Like, I wasn't against this, and there were even parts of this I thought had some potential. There are parts of Mando and Grogu that had potential. I maintained that the third act in which Grogu has to care for a wounded Mandalorian had real potential as a story. Unfortunately, it was too little too late. It was too boring. And the solution just dropped in his lap. So anyway, it didn't work. But my point, of all the things that bored the hell out of me, I would say this bored me the least. Although the jacked slug thing is a little weird. Okay, something's not. I don't know. This is where I really do have kind of sympathy for Favreau and Filoni in that I can understand writing a script in which this makes sense. I can understand writing a script in which you're saying Rada the Hutt, unlike his father, who was a lazy, privileged lord that just sat on a throne all day and got fat and ate a bunch of bonbons and was entertained all day by his courtiers. And it's like, it makes sense that he was a fat slob and that's not really how all Hutts necessarily would look. I don't know what their species is called. That's why I'm calling them Hutts. And also, I don't care. I don't care what their species is called. Don't bother. I don't care. But the Hutt characters, I could understand writing in there that this is a young Hutt who is who's an athlete. He's an athlete. Okay, fine. But I can understand, the justification and writing this in the script and thinking, oh, that makes sense. But then when you actually get to actually filming this thing and you're like, wait a minute. This is as harebrained an idea as we've ever had. This is the challenge, right? Some things just don't translate.
Jack, you been reading my dream journal? I skimmed it, yeah, and this guy's Jabba the Hutt's son. Oh, he's a Nepo baby? I hire those almost exclusively. And so the New Republic made this deal with the twins, who are Rada's aunt and uncle. They're Hutts, they're sluggies too. And what's the deal? If the New Republic can get their nephew back, they'll lead them to Commander Coin, who they've been trying to find for a while. Oh, they want Coin? That's my whole thing, I can relate to that. But the twist is, when Mando gets to Rada, he doesn't want to be rescued. Oh, why not? Well, he's a gladiator now, working for this guy Janu, and he draws in massive crowds. I mean, everybody wants a piece of Hutt. Their stuffed crust is pretty good. What? So anyway, Rada's happy to be building a name for himself, you know? He says he wants to be his own man. This big old space slug refers to himself as a man. Hey, shut up. And so as you can see, this is a pretty significant role. It should probably get a pretty popular actor to play him. Oh, you know what? Maybe we get Jeremy Allen White to phone it in. Phone it in like you're gonna record him virtually, like over a video conference? Yes. Anyway, Mando talks to Janu, and he's like, hey, you know what? Tomorrow we rig the fight, and a bunch of monsters are just gonna come kill Rada. Isn't that cool? Oh, very rude. And he's also like, hey, having a Mandalorian fighting would be pretty cool. You want to fight for me too? He literally just told him that he rigs his fights. That's right. So Mando refuses and goes to warn Rada, but Rada's like, I love fighting so much, and I don't want to listen to you. Security. And then Mando gets gassed. Oh, his helmet that he always wears doesn't filter that kind of stuff? No, why would it? So he wakes up, and he's got to be a gladiator now too. Slug fight, yeah, so he's got to fight Rada for a little bit, but then
why would his helmet filter gas? So stupid. It's so dumb. It was okay. It was an okay movie. It was okay.
Bunch of monsters come in, so they team up and fight the monsters, and the stakes have never been higher. They haven't? Well, no, obviously they've been much higher, but this would kind of suck if it didn't go well. Sure. So anyway, they end up escaping, and Rada lets Mando in on a little secret. He's on the juice, that's why he's such a muscular slug. No. Oh, Jack's slugs are tight. No, he's like, hey, guess what? Janu is Coin, and the twins kept that info from you so you can't capture me, because they want to kill me. I'm starting to think that Jabba the Hutt's siblings aren't trustworthy. So Mando chooses to believe him, and he brings Janu to the New Republic, and now the twins are pissed. Uh-oh. So they have Rada and Mando captured now, and they take his helmet off, which he freaking hates. So that'll be the one day that Pedro Pascal's on set. I tried to keep it to a minimum, but he should probably show his face once, just like a proof of life kind of deal. I guess. Hey, maybe let's give him a little mustache. Why would he maintain just a mustache under a helmet he never takes off? I don't know. Fair enough. So they toss him into this pit to fight some more monsters. Wait, how much of this movie is this guy spending in pits with monsters? A non-negligible chunk of the movie for sure. So then he does a cool move, so the twins, they toss him his helmet.
You know, I was watching Mando and Grogu, and I had the strangest thought about this. Okay, I had the strangest thought. And this is like one of those moments. I get this every now and then, and it can be almost any type of film, but there's every just once in a while I have an almost hyper reality, almost out of body realization about what I'm watching. And I had that with Mando and Grogu. He goes to the Hutt's palace and the twins, and they drop him down a trap door into this pit of water where this monster is. Right. Just like the scene in Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi, whatever. And I realized, just think about this for a second. These two twins sit in this throne room, and they're right above this swampy pit that is just this creature lives in, and it's sitting in there, and it's probably full of its poop. You know, and it's just whatever it's eating, and, you know, the remains of whatever it's eating are just rotting in this fetid pit. And it's probably just, the smell is probably just like drafting up from beneath them all day long. It would be like if your living room had a grate in the floor, and right below it is a disgusting, moldy swamp that a creature is living in. Which it had to be the grossest living environment possible for characters that ostensibly want to live in luxury. Now, I get it, yeah, but Captain, they're giant slugs. That's probably just what they like. And it's, maybe. All I'm saying is, it really struck me. I was like, this is not a luxurious way to live. I would not want to live over a swamp pit. Even if I were a slug. Why would I want to do, Jabba's palace, you could say, well, he lived over a pit. Well, the Rancor pit, that's right. I finally remembered the name of that thing. The Rancor pit was dry. I mean, it was more like a lower level than a fetid, swampy pit. It was just a dry chamber, and occasionally you would allow the Rancor into it to kill something, and then the guards clean up whatever happens, and the Rancor goes back to his pen, and that's that. But most of the time, it's just a lower level. It's a basement. It's a basement. I could understand living above a basement. But living above a disgusting swamp, it's just the smell, the mold, it would be awful. Just imagine the sinus pressure.
Back. They're like, good job, here's your helmet back. But why would they give him his helmet back? Well, because he's got to escape now, and in the next scene, I would like for him to have his helmet, so he's got to... They'll just give it back to him. Okay, yeah, that works. Great. But now he's been poisoned by a monster bite, and Grogu has to nurse him back to health. Is that going to be hard to do? Actually, it's going to be super easy.
Barely an inconvenience.
Oh, really? Yeah, because he almost immediately stumbles upon a kind swamp monster that has the ingredients to make a cure and the knowledge to do that and the kindness in his heart to help. Well, great. So now Mando's fully recovered, and he goes back to rescue Rada and take out the twins to death. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Wow. And then it seems like Rada might die because he falls into the monster pit with the twins, but Baby Yoda uses the Force to lift him out, so that's helpful. Oh yeah, he has Force powers, doesn't he? Only in scenes where I decide that he does. And so that's it. What do you think? Well, it feels like an episode of The Mandalorian. You know it, sir. But what's special about this one is that, you know, it's not going to be readily available on the streaming service we're already asking people to pay a monthly fee for. Right, they got to leave the house and go pay some extra money for this extended episode of The Mandalorian in which nothing really changes. I see nothing wrong with that strategy. Me neither. Let's do it.
Exactly. Hat tip pitch meeting. I really do enjoy those. Just a little bit of grave dancing. That's all it is. Okay, on to Backrooms and Obsession. So I thought we would react to our very own signal officer. Redoubt Productions has a video on the Backrooms, and I thought we'd just take a look at it. Because these are actually two films worthy of your time, Backrooms and Obsession. So we're going to cover both of them. Grab that link, Mr. Producer. Okay, here we go. Hat tip, Redoubt Productions. Backrooms, the next great folktale. It's 25 minutes, Redoubt, so I don't think we're going to do the whole thing, but let's get into it. Share audio.
One image has both simultaneously horrified but inspired many. In 2026, this one image has spawned one of the most talked about stories domestically and potentially internationally as well. Some of you may have seen this movie poster or caught a glimpse of a commercial relating to it, or your children and grandkids are talking about this Backrooms. And yes, I say children and grandkids because, well, I do have access to my viewer analytics. Here they are. Don't fret. Being a Gen Z,
I went too fast.
Interested, and here they are.
Let's see. 5% female. Good for you, Redoubt. You lady killer, you. I'd be lucky if I hit 0.8. Let's see. Age is his viewer analytics. Well, you're a history professor, Redoubt. That's not surprising. Redoubt is crushing it with the 55-plus crowd. 10%, 45 to 54. It's fascinating. Fascinating. How do we reach the kids, Redoubt? That's the thing. How do we get the history to the kids?
Don't fret. Being a Gen Zer who happens to be interested in events 250 years ago, I'm comfortable and appreciative of getting to speak to such an audience. But I am also always more than welcoming for the next generation to join our conversations here on Redoubt Productions. I bring up all of this because my passion is ultimately telling stories, particularly the true stories of what shapes our environment. But I also enjoy hearing others share their stories, be it fact or fiction. While most of my time is spent separating fact from fiction, sometimes I enjoy trying to separate fiction from fact, because fiction can represent how humans ensure the fact of life will be remembered as long as possible, even. All right, what the hell is the Backrooms? That's your blunt question, I'm sure you're asking me. Well,
yes.
It all goes back
And that
to
was
May
exactly my question when a Gen Zer said I should go and see it. I was like, what is this? What is the Backrooms? I don't know what that is. Fu Man Blue says youngsters are still trying to figure out how things work now. They have little interest in the past or how it relates. See, I'm not so black-pilled, Fu Man. The fact of the matter is I go on historical tangents all the time with my Gen Z coworkers, and they often tell me that they think history is boring, but it's super interesting when I tell them about it. I'm telling you, there's a way to get to them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having an older crowd audience. Certainly there's not. No, of course not. I'm just saying I think that history is often taught to people as a thing you have to memorize. I think that's how it goes. It's like, and there's often and I'm not saying you do this, of course not, Ridout, but I'm just saying, I think that like in terms of like school teachers and stuff, they communicate history in a way that is very judgmental, for lack of a better term. I would say that there's an almost sense that like, you have to learn this because you need to know how things were. And there's not really the allowance for the learner to ask themselves, why should I care? And I think that teachers often don't think they owe that answer. I think they approach history with the attitude of, I don't owe you an answer to why you should care. The fact that you're asking why you should care is why you need to learn it. And I think that's part of the reason that people don't like learning history, because they are presented with history, A, in a smug, authoritarian way, B, in a way that does not invite curiosity, but rather memorization, and somewhat judges them in the process. I think history is incredibly interesting when you simply experience it as a story. I think when it's a story of something that's relatable, that's when it becomes something worth experiencing. And so, I write Blood and Oak not to impart history as its goal, but I do hope that history is imparted while you read it because you're connecting with the characters. Regardless of what you may think of this film, I think the best example of a film that communicates history in a way that is incredibly engaging to the viewer and makes them care about it is the film Titanic. Titanic is one of the best examples of what I'm talking about. It simply tells you the story of Jack and Rose, which is an amazing disaster adventure. It's a disaster adventure love story. And it hooks you into the story, but along the way, you are experiencing the history, the horrific history of the Titanic going down. And I even love the beginning of the movie when an elderly Rose is listening to the Titanic divers show her a computer-generated image of what happened to the Titanic. And they're sort of just narrating all the events. Okay, right about here, 2:21 a.m., the ship is going down by the head, and then it breaks in half, and blah, blah, blah. And he just explains it all to her. And her answer to that is, to me, a theme stated about the entire film. She says, well, that's a very fine forensic definition of what happened. But the experience of it was somewhat different. I can think of no better line in a movie to illustrate my exact point. I think most teachers are giving you a forensic timeline of things that happen and expecting you to remember it because you should. I think the way that you get people excited about history is you communicate a story that moves them emotionally. So, and none of this is meant to be a critique of Redoubt's channel, of course, because I think Redoubt's channel is doing what his channel is doing, which is communicating to the audience that it has. So that's just my thoughts on it. Fu Man says, that's not a black pill. It's what me and the people I knew growing up with thought, which is youngsters are still trying to figure out how things work, so they have little interest in the past or how it relates to things. Yeah, I don't see it as a black pill. I get what you're saying. I really, if I just had infinite spare time, I too would want to dip my toes into the history channel. But it's such a. I feel like I would enjoy teaching history. I really would. I would really enjoy that.
2019 to, of all places, 4chan. Yes, that horrifying website that I avoid like the plague, and I recommend you never visit unless you have the proper protection. However, some of the most creative minds, I'll put it that way, are over at 4chan. And on May 12, 2019, an anonymous user of the image board Paranormal posted that one image. And a little bit later on, provided this little context behind it. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you.
Dude, that is fantastic. That is a hell of a quote right there. And it honestly illustrates part of my frustration with the film, if I'm being totally honest, because I feel like the film, here's what the film did really well. It set the scene, because the actual back rooms in the film totally capture this. And that's impressive for such a young filmmaker, such a new filmmaker. And honestly, I kind of marvel at how they designed all those sets. Like, just the set design alone was just so interesting. And there are scenes where Chiwetel Ejiofor is sort of wandering through them, and the way they're shot is very good, because there's an immense sense of like dread and just like kind of like claustrophobia that is immediately communicated. Where the film breaks down is that it doesn't place in that environment the monster that we need to drive the story. And so essentially the Backrooms, if we're looking at it as a genre in the Blake Snyder Save the Cat beat sheet, it really, I think it should be a monster in the house story. The problem is that in the movie, Ejiofor's character is able to leave the Backrooms and come back at will. So it's not really meeting the definition of the house. The house has to be an enclosed space, something you can't escape from, right? Which it can be a literal house, or it can be a family, or it can be a planet, but it has to be a defined space that you're stuck in. In the case of Alien, it's the ship Nostromo, right? That's the house that the monster is hunting you in. So if he were trapped in the Backrooms or lost in the Backrooms, then it would be a house, and I think it would be a more effective story. And then, of course, you obviously need the monster, which represents pure evil, and I don't feel like the film quite got there. There is an antagonist in the film, but it's a lot more surreal and abstract, and it doesn't really function as the don't get eaten type monster that we're looking for in a film like that. What other genre could it possibly be? Let's see. Because I've been thinking about this a lot. You know, how would I fix the Backrooms? And for one thing, I think that there's a break into 3. There's a break into Act 3 in the Backrooms where we shift from the perspective of Chiwetel Ejiofor's character to the psychiatrist character. And I think that's where the film breaks down for me, because it's like suddenly we've downloaded a totally new protagonist almost right in the middle of the movie, and that kind of ruins it. Interesting. Monster in the house, the core. An innocent group or individual is trapped in an enclosed space with a terrifying monster. I don't know if innocence is necessarily a prerequisite for the main character, but I will say that Ejiofor's character is definitely not an innocent, in a sense. Golden Fleece story, buddy love, why done it? A mystery that delves into the psychology of the human condition. The Fool Triumphant, institutionalized rites of passage, superhero dude with a problem out of the bottle. By the way, Obsession is a classic out of the bottle story. Classic out of the bottle story, which is a what-if tale where a character receives magic or a blessing or a curse only to realize by the end they didn't need the magic at all. A wish, the elements are a wish or a magic, a spell of happiness, something, and a price that must be paid to return to normal. And it can be a comedy, it can be an inspiring movie, or it can be a horror story. And Obsession is a classic out of the bottle story. Which is why, by the way, it's a superior film, because it tells a very clear story. It has its flaws, for sure. But in any case, dude with a problem. Maybe Backrooms could work as that. I don't think so. The Fool Triumphant? No, it definitely wouldn't be that. You know what? It could have been a why done it. I actually think if you were going to fix the Backrooms, you make it a why done it. You lean into the government conspiracy element of it. You make Ejiofor becomes the detective. You're kind of halfway there because in the film he's a failed architect who runs a furniture store, and he gets lost in the back room. Well, not lost, but he finds the back rooms in the lower level of his furniture store. And as an architect, he kind of is fascinated by the back rooms, which already puts you in the position of making him an investigator, trying to figure them out, map them out. So in order to make it a successful why done it, you would need a mystery that delves into the psychology of the human condition. Well, a mystery in this case would be, what are the back rooms and who are these? Who's in there? A detective investigating a crime, diving into the why of something. Golden Fleece story, definitely. You could actually make the Backrooms a Golden Fleece story, but it doesn't quite. That would be tricky. No, I think it either has to be a monster in the house or a why done it. And you would need to tweak the film significantly to make it succeed in either of those. As it is, it feels like an unfinished film or sort of an art film that you're not meant to. It's not meant to be a complete story. It's more like you're just meant to experience the ambiance and the mise en scène and just enjoy it. And on that level, I kind of just do.
This is what we essentially would call a creepypasta. Creepypasta is just a fancy little term Gen Zers and other users of the internet have come to use for stories that are very decentralized in who creates them, but essentially you can copy and paste the text or add to this story. And that's exactly what was happening here. Somebody posted an image, somebody posted some text, somebody added some more text, somebody's added some visuals, somebody's added some music, somebody's added, you get the idea, keep adding and adding on to this chain, to this message chain. That is what a creepypasta essentially is. They typically steer toward horror. Creepypasta is not too dissimilar from folk tale horrors going back hundreds, if not thousands of years. Think Sasquatch, Men in Black, and countless tales of ghostly ladies in white haunting your local cemetery. These are just a few.
I mean, another kind of example of this is urban legends, right? Urban legends that circulate for, decades, and each person that shares the urban legend maybe adds to it or slightly alters it, and it just takes on this life of its own. And it's this, have you heard of this thing kind of story. And the creepypasta is now a modern iteration of that. Isn't this fascinating?
examples of icons from folklore that appear in numerous parts of the United States and the world at large.
The internet is also somewhat like, you think it's uniquely primed for this kind of story because folklore, as we think of it, folk tales that would circulate, would be told around campfires or in villages, and they would make their way by way of traveler from village to village, town to town. In the modern world, the internet is a place where anything someone posts on a message board could be a true story, it could be a rumor, it could be a completely fake story. But you can't be 100% sure all the time. And so a creepypasta is this almost perfect, it's this perfect liminal space, you might say, where you sort of know it's not true, but can you be sure that it's not true? Because just by dint of being posted on the internet, there's this almost implied possibility that it is true. There really is a Backrooms, and you really could be clipped out of reality. And just that very vague sense is what lends it this naturally eerie quality.
Sometimes their local tie has a kernel of truth, or other times they're just the basis of some strange fiction. But there are reasons these bits of folklore appear in so many different parts of the world. People can relate to or envision themselves encountering such icons, even if we know they're not factually true. Those are the type of creepy folklore icons that the Backrooms has fast found company with. Since that initial post was made, the concept of the Backrooms has roughly manifested into this alternative reality, this other layer of existence, be it above or below our level of existence, us as humans. And essentially the idea is it's an endless void of constantly generating rooms, generating objects that are very familiar to humans, but something is just off about all these objects. There's something uncanny about the environment. Constantly generated. They are reminiscent. They create deja vu for anybody who sees them. But this is impossible. Even though it looks like a human created object, this is just not how humans would design or place rooms and objects. The Backrooms concept is also fueled by a gaming malfunction, a video game malfunction called no clipping. And essentially what that means is if you're playing a video game, you're moving your character through this digital recreation of a world. Well, if one code in your character's avatar interacts with another code in the world build and the environment you're walking in, they may not like how they interact with each other, and the game may break and you'll go through a wall and you'll end up in this void space surrounding the level you're supposed to be playing on. And probably the only way to solve that is by turning off your gaming system and turning it back on and rebooting at your last save point. So that's what the no clipping refers to in the original description of what the Backrooms could be, which, for an audience not familiar with video games, you're probably like, okay. But to audiences that are accustomed to them, like you bring up Gen Z, my age group, well, it is both a horrifying prospect and also a very frustrating one. You know how many times some people have had to probably, how many video game consoles have been probably lost due to no clipping on loop from a game that was intentionally designed bad, yet game journalists told you it was good. And back to that concept of that deja vu, uncanny feeling somebody gets when they see depictions of the Backrooms. The Backrooms typically manifest environments similar to an office cubicle, the annex of a courthouse, your classroom, a hospital, the mall, even your home. These are liminal spaces, which I always use the term human engineered caverns. If you would take all of the humans out of the places that they should be in, large groups of people should be in, you're just left with the empty space. There's something uncanny and something also very awe-inspiring about it. I mean, you've probably seen a plethora of videos on the TubeU about people that their whole side hobbies to go out to abandoned large buildings, like abandoned malls, and just walk through
I didn't have the microphone turned on. Oh my God. It's because I muted myself to blow my nose and I forgot to unmute myself. I just told this whole story and you heard none of it. Oh my God. I should have read the chat. Yes, Fu Man. I want to end the stream. I'm so mad. I want to rage quit. Like, I'm so mad at myself. I want to rage quit. But we do have a rule on the Swords and Starships channel. How long was it? It was basically, God only knows how long that was. Oh my God. That's so embarrassing. Okay. I swear to God, I am trying to get better at this. I really am trying to get better. I'm trying to get better at reading the chat. I did not see the chat moving for a while, so it's kind of why I wasn't looking at it. But I hadn't seen it moving for a while, and then, yeah, I know, Fu Man. We have a rule on the channel, and the rule is, if I screw up the audio, I have to wear the bib. All right, hang on a second. I have to get it. Hang on. This is how sick my audience is. This is how twisted my audience is. Fu Man Blue at the Nerdrotic Meetup brought this for me. That's right. It's the bib. This is Internet Humiliation Ritual. There it is. There you go. That's what it says. Look at that. Internet Humiliation Ritual, as if me muting myself wasn't enough. All right, Fu Man, there you go. There it is. Proof it exists. Okay, I'll full screen it for you. That's only fair. There it is. That's the bib. Okay. I did my duty for king and country. I was telling you a great story, by the way. I was telling the story. I guess I'll just tell it again. Fine, whatever. I hate it. I hate that this is it. I got to edit this out, Mr. Producer. I think I can trim it out in post. I probably will. Professional operation here. Why didn't I think to unmute? Okay. So anyway, I was telling the story of how at least you could hear Redoubt, though. That's the good news. At least when I was playing Redoubt, you could hear Redoubt. I do. Yeah, a dental x-ray. Thanks for joining, by the way, Starfury. No plan survives contact with a mic. That is very true, Starfury. That's very, yes, Sun Tzu, or is that von Clausewitz? I can't remember. So we're talking about these liminal spaces and how creepy they are. And I was talking about how I was on a trip to go to Laughlin, Nevada to meet some friends. And I was traveling from LA to Laughlin. Okay. And I was used to taking freeways, usually, on long road trips. But in this particular case, Google Maps had me taking kind of a back road. And I was just following the Google Maps because I'd never gone this way before. And I just remember hitting this stretch of like 2-lane highway for like a couple of hours. And it was one of the most beautiful drives I've ever had. It was just this vast open desert country with these beautiful mountains everywhere. And it was just this lonely road through this vast open desert. And I had never seen this area before. And I was really enjoying the drive. I was like, wow, this is just so beautiful. But there was this eerie quality to it because I kept passing these abandoned gas stations, these abandoned diners, just these lonely stops along this long desert road. And I mean, they were just long abandoned, boarded up. The old gas station pumps are there, but obviously they're from like 30 years ago, 40 years ago. They're just old gas pumps. And I remember thinking, like, wondering what it was like in its heyday to stop at this diner and eat there, and just thinking of all the people who once stopped there, the people who work there, and now it's just been abandoned. I was thinking about how eerie it would be to pull over and like park at one of these places and like look in the window and see all the cobwebs and, old furniture or something. It was creepy. It was eerie and creepy, but also like really oddly familiar. Like I sort of recognized this place, and then it hit me. I was like, before it hit me, I just got curious about like, where am I? So I pull up my Google Maps and I'm like looking at the highway. I'm like, what road is this? And so I'm kind of like exploring. I'm like, Highway 66. I'm like, I don't know what this wait, 66. And then it hit me. I'm like, I'm on Route 66. And I didn't even know it. I didn't even realize I was on Route 66. And then I was like, holy shit. Oh, no wonder. I suddenly realized this is Route 66, one of the main arteries of America that used to be a major, a major source of travel from east to west, and it became abandoned when the freeway system essentially replaced it. And all these places that used to be gas stations and way stations, they're now all abandoned. And they have been for years. And of course, Route 66 has been in all these movies over the years. So of course, that's why it was so familiar. But it lives up to the legend, because I didn't even know I was on it. And I was like, wow, this place is phenomenal. This is amazing. This is like the best drive I've ever had. It was just so, and it was so fascinating to see all these abandoned places. And I'm like, I'm on Route 66 and I didn't even know it. Yes, Star Fury. It very much, I do read the chat. Thank you very much. It does remind me of traveling through Fallout. It was very much like that, especially the Mojave Wasteland. Like that's how the Mojave Wasteland is Nevada, California, and Arizona, basically, is the Mojave Wasteland. And that is exactly what it looks like. Barren, empty, abandoned. I was even thinking like it would be a great on-location place for something like shooting the Backrooms or something like that. So in any case, we'll roll tape
and record them. People, for whatever reason, especially younger age groups right now in 2026, love exploring abandoned locations. They love the liminal space aesthetic unintentionally created by these formal functioning buildings that are now set without purpose, without meaning. They're abandoned. So all this has come together to create the concept of the Backrooms, this creepypasta that's been spread throughout, told across the interwebs, and many people have contributed to the Backrooms concept over the years, from merely writing descriptions of certain levels of the Backrooms to providing images.
What exactly is the proper amount of time, Fu Man Blue, for the bib? Like, what would be the proper amount of time? I feel like 10 to 20 seconds, which I think I even exceeded that, is generous. Any amount of time wearing the bib is exceedingly generous, in my view.
Further liminal spaces in our reality.
You're lucky I even have it, okay? I know it was a gift, and I appreciate that. Considering that I've moved from one apartment to another since you gave it to me. So, like, the fact that it even made it through the move and didn't accidentally get lost just shows how dearly I treasure my audience, even when they gift me with odd things. So the fact that I wore it is at all. I can't believe it, Mr. Producer. I was doing so good.
And claiming it's found in the Backrooms. This has led to people making videos, making video games where you can.
I never specified a length.
There's a lot of.
I never specified that
content. For some reason, content creators who want to add to the story of the Backrooms, they just generate endless rooms with pools.
It gives me the heebie-jeebies. This.
And that's the really popular one. And oh, pools. Personally, I think the Backrooms creepypasta became so popular in the early 2020s as well, partly because everybody got locked indoors. Also, because people from Generation Z, who I'm associated with apparently, a lot of stuff that's being referenced is stuff that we can roughly recall as children, ideas of like the mall environments, but also it's stuff that's too far back where it's like we remember it, but were we really a part in those settings? It's just deja vu. It comes back to the idea of deja vu.
Star Fury pointing out that Redoubt Productions is amazing. He should become a professor of history, teaching the youths those lessons history has to teach us all. And here, Mr. Star Fury. Captain salute, Redoubt Productions. It's a pretty good video. I'm enjoying it. I enjoy the... So the thing is, I knew nothing about this going into the movie. I went into that movie totally cold. I had no knowledge of this. And look, I am an internet denizen, okay? I am aware of 4chan. I'm aware of what these things are. I know what the kids are doing these days. No, but seriously, I'm internet literate enough to know a lot of things. But this particular creepypasta, I had no knowledge of. I immediately found it fascinating, though. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I like that. So I kind of enjoyed seeing the movie and not knowing anything about it going in. Where's my chat? They'll scream at me. So I'm really enjoying getting the backstory to the Backrooms here. Like, this is actually very helpful. Starfall says, do you think Keanu Reeves would play a great Darth Revan? And if you've watched Maul Shadowlord, do you think that the pink Twi'lek Devon will become Darth Talon? Starfall 23, welcome to the chat. Captain welcomes you, sir. Regrettably, I'm not very well versed on the extended universe of Star Wars. I never really read Heir to the Empire or any of those. I don't even consider myself like a diehard Star Wars guy. I'm a Trekkie, okay? I'm an old school Trekkie. That was my thing. Star Wars I came to late, and that was when they re-released the original trilogy in theaters, and I went to see it in theaters as a trilogy in the theater for the first time. That's when I actually became a Star Wars fan, because I watched all three of the original films at the movies as they're meant to be experienced. I remember thinking, those are really good. I'd say those are really good. And then The Phantom Menace came out, and that was all she wrote. So I'm more of a tourist. You know, I always have been more of a tourist when it comes to Star Wars. So I'm not the guy to like go that deep into the lore. If you had that kind of question for me about like Star Trek, at least up through Enterprise, Kurtzman Trek is garbage, and I disregard it. But if it were anything Enterprise or earlier, I could theorize with you. Do I think Keanu would be a good Darth Revan? I don't know the character of Darth Revan well enough to answer, but I am a giant Keanu Reeves fan. And I think that if you think he'd be good for it, you're probably right, because Keanu is fantastic. I'm a huge fan of the John Wick character. Huge fan. It's gotten a little out of control in the later films, but I just am such a fan of John Wick. And, of course, Neo is his ultimate role. But in any case, we march on.
But yet all these different ways of taking the Backrooms, there was one series that stood out above all others. One that took this decentralized creepypasta and made it into an organized story. And that would be Kane Pixel's Backrooms series. The first installment of Kane Pixel's Backrooms came in January.
I don't know if they'll make a live-action She-Ra. I don't think Masters of the Universe is doing well. Starfall. Unfortunately. But I was, as a kid, a huge He-Man and She-Ra fan. But if they make a She-Ra, she needs to be hot. Although I will say, all the characters, you know, they had Teela was pretty sexy in Masters of the Universe. So I think their heart would be in the right place.
Of 2022. And for the most part, this particular take on the Backrooms is told through found footage. What is claimed to be
Sydney Sweeney as She-Ra. That'd be perfect. That would be perfect.
archival footage.
I love how Sydney Sweeney's, she's all we've got, fellas. There's nobody else. We got to put her in everything.
From the Async Research Institute, who found a way to establish a permanent portal between our plane of existence.
Miles Teller as Revan, says Starfury. Let me just do a quick little detour here. Darth Revan. That's right. I'm such a tourist. Oh my God. Why are you... Mozilla, what are we doing here? What are we doing, Mozilla? Darth Revan. Jedi Knight who became a Sith Lord and then returned to the light. Yes, I know. It's pathetic. I have to rely on Wikipedia here. I'm literally your Star Wars wiki fan. Only Sith cultists knew the significance of Revan's name. In 3 ABY, cultists searching the catacombs beneath the Sith citadel on the planet Exegol repeated Revan's name in something similar to a chant. Oh, yeah, that's from the Rise of Skywalker. An ancient Sith named Revan was established in the Star Wars canon with a mention in Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Revan was originally introduced in Star Wars Legends continuity in BioWare and LucasArts' Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. A Jedi Knight who broke away, became a Dark Lord of the Sith, and formed a Sith Empire that waged war against the Order and the Galactic Republic. That's pretty rad. Miles Teller, huh? As Darth Revan. I'm on board definitely with Keanu as Darth Revan. Sounds pretty cool to me.
And the plane of existence, whatever universe this Backrooms exists in. Async refers to the Backrooms as the complex. And it's, after enough installments have been created over the years, it's kind of been pieced together that...
Did Starfall just say in the chat, it's ma'am? Well, in any case, that's right. We always respect pronouns here. Always on the Swords of Starships channel. So, yes. No, we can have ma'ams aboard the ship. We are an integrated crew, Starfury. We can absolutely. I'm a Captain Janeway fan. Come on now. Maybe Jackson Rathbone as young Darth. I don't know Jackson Rathbone. Keanu Reeves is a much older. Starfury, well, listen, Starfury's from an earlier generation, Starfall, okay? He's just, he's... they did things differently back then, okay?
Async's interest in using the complex and exploring the complex is because they want to sell it to the United States government as endless storage space, a cheap solution to a growing population crisis, endless space for living space rentals. That's what Async is interested in the Backrooms for. However, the longer Async keeps their portal open to the complex, and the deeper to go inside, it appears that the complex has become ever increasingly unstable. Now, that's the linear story. It is told in an unlinear format. As I mentioned, it's told mostly through found footage, archival footage from Async, but it also includes footage captured by innocent people who conveniently had a film camcorder in their hands when they no-clipped into the back rooms. And if you put it into a timeline like Wendigoon has, he has 2 fantastic videos deep diving into everything you would ever want to know and more about Kane Pixel's Backrooms series, you start seeing a timeline develop from where Async made their first contact with the complex to their many adventures, and then these innocent people just falling in. And it seems the more Async is involved with the Backrooms, the more unstable it becomes, the more horrifying ramifications are occurring within the complex that have implications of threatening Async themselves and, be honest, human existence as we know it.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's good. I love stuff like that. See, this is the, I don't want to say problem is maybe, this is the challenge that the Backrooms film had, is that how do you really capture that internet creepy factor? That's just not something that's going to totally translate to film. They gave it a really good effort. I'm not denying that. The film did as well as I think you could do in creating that factor, but it's still, there's just something about that little clip that it's just so perfect.
Following Kane Pixel series for I'd say about 3 years now. I've been following it. What I like about it most is the idea of putting the pieces to the puzzle together. We are given the evidence of the story. It's a little out of order, and it's us, the viewer's job. If we want to understand the complete story, we actually have to do some investigating. We have to piece it together, which is not too dissimilar from when I do research on true events, on history, American history. I will have to go through various resources, primary sources, secondary sources, and I don't always get to research them in order. I find stuff out of sync that I want to put in from start to finish to tell a complete story about our shared past. So you get the same experience when you watch Kane Pixel's Backrooms. You as the viewer have to be a bit of a historian, albeit one on an other world, on a completely other reality of ours. Of course, this is all fiction, but it is up to you, the viewer, that has to piece it together.
Let's see. Let's just close with your theory here. So potential spoilers for Backrooms here.
This movie affirms in my mind that the complex is some form of collective hive subconsciousness. It starts by preserving near perfect images of a core memory, something you really viscerally remember. But the longer time elapsed from the last time you recalled that core memory, the less of the details are preserved by the complex. Eventually, all these core memories of how many individuals live on Earth, they all start melding into one over years, over time, and eventually only a handful of items remain in that memory.
So almost like memory that's like melting like ice. That's kind of an interesting idea.
And these are items that most humans can relate to. So something as innocuous as a chair, or something as innocuous as a piece of carpet, or as innocuous as yellow wallpaper. And that's where the uncanniness really comes into the layout of the complex and Backrooms. And well, although you don't really see a lot of this in the movie, I do feel it confirms that the more that Async interacts with the complex, the more unstable our reality, that being the human world of the series, is going to become.
And with that, I promise we will get back to our regularly scheduled programming next week for Retracing History. But I do genuinely feel, as goofy as it sounds, that one photo posted on 4chan is going to be one of the most important artifacts for the very least American history, American folklore, because yes, spoiler alert, it has been found that photo came from the back of a Hobby Lobby or some sort of store in Wisconsin way back in the day during renovation. So it actually...
Hat Tip Redoubt Productions, a great video. Check it out. And do subscribe. I enjoy all that lore. I think, I'm going to tell you something, having watched that. I think if they keep making more of these films, it's a license to print money. I really do. Now, I do think that the critique I have of the film is that it doesn't really tell a complete story, at least not a satisfying one. And the defense that the director of the film had for this is he said that, well, he was trying to recreate the mystery of the internet series and the unanswered questions. And it's like, oh, that's all well and good. But the reality is you need to tell a complete story if you're going to have a film. That's just my perspective on it. And I think you risk irritating the audience. And I don't think you should do that. I think you should tell a complete story with plenty of mystery left. That's what I would say. What was I gonna... I did have this job I had to do where I was working at a mall for a brief period, and there was a storage area in the basement of the mall where I had to retrieve some things. And I got to tell you, this is well before I saw this movie. Going through it was so strange. This basement of this mall, there were sections of it that looked like they had once been a store, like almost like if a section of a store had just been partitioned off with plywood or something, or like maybe this was once the lower level of the mall, but it had now been repurposed as like a basement storage level. That's exactly what it looked like. So it looked almost like part of a store, but also a basement. And it was just like the Backrooms. It was just like it. No windows, kind of creepy angles. Just looked like the setting to a horror movie. So yeah, that feeling is real. Very real. Okay, and then there is more in the stack of stuff because we're also talking about Obsession. So I'm going to grab that, and then we're going to talk about Masters of the Universe. So the show is not over, folks. Stay tuned. But I'm going to take a short break. I will be right back. Just kidding. I was just kidding on the audio. That wasn't a real mess up. Fu Man Blue, don't get excited. Yes, we are back. We lost our only female viewer we've had in 3 years, and Starfury's the reason. Starfury, did you chase away our... Dang it, Starfury, we had a female viewer. You're supposed to be nice to them, Starfury. No, I'm sure. Starfall hung out with us for a little bit, so thanks for hanging out, Starfall. She might still be there. But in any case, you are welcome anytime, madam, on the Swords and Starships vessel. So I think my lore is not strong enough for the Star Wars Extended Universe. So if you're looking for a conversation about Darth Revan, I really do need to play that game, though, Knights of the Old Republic. That is, I started playing it, and I just got squirreled. I had something else going on. A little something called Galaxyborn. I am, of course, working on Volume 1 of Galaxyborn. If you go to www.galaxyborn.com and put in your email address right here, it will sign you up to my email list, and I'm working on actually launching my email list soon, which will be updates leading up to the release of the Kickstarter campaign. So this is going to be a flagship piece of a larger science fiction universe. This is an optimistic future, but it is also it is as grounded and potentially dangerous a universe as our universe, which it is our universe. It's our world, but it's our future. But it is a future that's worth fighting for. Let's put it that way. There's going to be a fair amount of gritty, dark things that happen in the Galaxy Born universe, but it's still a universe you would want to fight for. It's a universe you'd want to live in. A future, I should say, that you'd want to live in. It is original science fiction. And, it's interesting. When I first started writing it, I was kind of thinking along the lines of like the franchises I love, like Star Trek, Star Wars, Mass Effect. But as I've been exploring this universe and discovering it, really, as I'm writing it and filling out the lore for it, one of the things I've noticed is it's not really any of those things. It's something entirely its own. It's something totally new, which is what it should be. And I feel inspired by the work of Gene Roddenberry and George Lucas, but I don't in any way seek to duplicate or emulate that work. Rather, I want to simply explore the future I think is possible and that we're heading to. I wish there were 5 of me, because I have ideas for other interesting universes. Like I am so tired of the modern Fallout universe that I've been thinking, this is why you got to watch the show live, folks, because I'm thinking about a post-apocalyptic, a post-nuclear apocalyptic universe that could be an excellent setting for tabletop gaming. That I mean, the reason I started thinking about it was because of how dissatisfied I've been with Fallout, the Fallout universe, which used to be, in my view, just really so interesting. My introduction to the Fallout universe, by the way, was, if we go to let's go to this. Yeah. Fallout 3 start screen here. This was my introduction to the Fallout universe because I had never played the original games. But like, just think of the mise en scène. Think of the ambiance that this creates, the sort of grim darkness this evokes. Dude, I love this. Why can't I adjust my volume on this, Mr. Producer? That's weird. That is... Oh, because I accidentally locked it. That's why. I don't know why the audio is so quiet there. Like, Fallout 3 had, in my view, the right atmosphere for Fallout. Grim, dark, but also just the faintest ray of hope. So this is what Fallout used to be. This is what Fallout used to be. Now it's wacky and stupid. It's a wacky parody of itself. Anyway, my point is, I have ideas all the time. What? It jumped on me, Mr. Producer. Hang on. There we go. I have ideas all the time for things, and I just don't have the time to develop them all. One day, I will have help, though. That's the idea. So Galaxy Born is the flagship. It is 100% of my effort. Speaking of which, I also have... if you go to www.bloodandoak.com, you will see the landing page for my Blood and Oak series. Here we go. There it is. Same cover artist for both of these, by the way. Same cover artist for both. And this one you can get on Amazon. There is an Audible of this as well. The Audible book is by Travis Baldree, a novelist in his own right, and he's become an absolute rock star narrator. I am so fortunate that I got him for this first novel, but probably I'll have to do the audiobooks for all the rest of my books because he's no longer available. I don't have the juice to get Travis to do it again. But anyway, my point is, I'm hoping to eventually do a relaunch of Blood and Oak. So I'm kind of looking at how I might do a new edition of it. But that's kind of down the road. It's a secondary project. I'm still going to write more sequels to this. But we have to start with the flagship, and that is Galaxy-Born. So, man, what a cover artist Pablo Fernandez is. That's my cover artist. He's a Portuguese artist, and holy moly, he's so good. He's just so incredible. And he did both of these covers. And of course, I told him kind of like what I wanted, and I gave him guidance, and I used like mock-up. I actually used Google Drawings to create like composites of sort of what I was thinking, but then he just takes my idea and he turns it into this pure cinematic magic. It's just gorgeous. This is the best cover he's ever done, and he's done like 6 covers for me, and this is my favorite. Like every single time he just outdoes himself. Like, look at how good he did. The planets and the background is so good. That's my hero, Cole Sadler, captain of the Starship Independence, and that would be his first officer, Maybeala, a Capruan, our closest allies in the stars. And then, of course, there's our villain, the Rakoi warlord, Stragos. Stragos, leader of the Ramadzah. You know what? Let me grab that story real quick because we had a very sad thing happen, which is the Stargate. So I'm not gonna. There's a scene in The Dark Knight in which Alfred tells Bruce Wayne that he's overextending himself, and he's like, there's things that Batman can't do. There's even Batman has limits. And Bruce Wayne says, Batman has no limits, Alfred. Then later in the movie, Bruce Wayne is telling Alfred, today I found out what Batman can't do. And, today you can tell me that you were right, and you told me so. And Alfred says, today I don't want to, sir. And I just love that little scene because he's like, I don't want to tell you I was right about that. And that's how I feel with you, Fu Man Blue, on Stargate. Because I remember I told you they had the Stargate announcement and you were worried it's going to be woke trash. But the 3 of the original creatives behind Stargate SG-1 were working on it. And I was like, I'm just telling you, I have a sense that like these guys are for real. They're going to, based on what they're saying on X and everything, like they're going to do it justice, I think. And it turns out I think I was right about that because Amazon canceled it because they were not going, this is my theory, they were not going to fill it full of a bunch of woke garbage. And so Amazon's like, well, then we're not doing it. And I think the woke wackos running their entertainment division, they do not want to make something that the fans want. They hate our guts. They hate us. They hate what we stand for. They hate that we love our country. They hate that we love our flag. They hate that we love masculine heroes and traditional values. They hate that we can't be controlled or brainwashed. They're disgusted that we have a voice online and that they ever have to answer to us and our preferences. And if they made Stargate the way it's meant to be made and we loved it, it would mean they lost because they're sick. They're sick people, folks, that run these studios. They are woke, white, liberal Karens and race-hustling activists. And they hate our guts. They're a cancer and a plague. Fu Man says, you were right, swords and starships. And today I don't want to be right, Fu Man Blue. I really don't. This is a day in which I regret. Well, I mean, I don't regret that Stargate SG-1 did not come out and turn into woke trash, but I do regret that I was right in this matter. But that being said, I have a clip here from Asmongold reacting to this news. And I'm going to react to Asmongold reacting to this news. Let me make sure audio is enabled, Mr. Producer.
Need you to lock in. This is personal. Amazon just canceled the revival of the most popular TV shows because the original showrunners didn't turn into some woke slop. They announced the return of Stargate just last year, and now they killed it. So a new Stargate TV show has been axed by Amazon. And so this happened. Oh, this happened today. The show was first announced as a series in November 2025 and hailed as a showrunner who was a writer on Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. Sources say Amazon execs were concerned about Jiro's take on the series would not have broad appeal beyond the franchise's already dedicated fans.
Oh my God. God, we are up against it. We are up against it, boys. Sources say Amazon executives. So when you hear me say these people, they, who are you talking about, Captain? Well, there you have it. Executives at Amazon, the people making the decisions. They were concerned that the original creators' take on the series would not have broad appeal beyond the franchise's already dedicated fan base. Fuck these people. Fuck Amazon. Fuck you assholes. We hate you. You know, I was just thinking about Steven Spielberg is not taking it well. That his Boomer Disclosure Day, which I am dreading. I am dreading watching this garbage. I'm going to just grin and bear it. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to be negative. I'm just going to watch it and have fun with my dad. And if he loves it, I'm not even going to criticize it. I'm just going to say, whatever. I'm glad you liked it. It was great hanging out with you. But I am freaking dreading it. I am dreading it. And Steven Spielberg is not taking it well that nobody likes this slop, this absolute garbage he made because he's an over-the-hill, past his prime director who has no meaningful ideas to contribute. Nobody likes Rebel Moon by Zack Snyder. Everyone's getting bored of Avatar. Thank you very much, Jim Cameron. And The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan, the last true filmmaker, is being skewered for being woke garbage. And they're not taking it well. And all I have to say is, fuck you, Steven Spielberg. You deserve it. We hate you. We hate your guts. We hate everything that you people stand for. You have destroyed entertainment. You have destroyed pop culture. And we're tired of your sick worldview. And it's high time there were a new sheriff in town. And there's going to be. But you know, there's a quote from the character in Andor, one of my favorite fictional characters in a long time, Luthen Rael, played by Stellan Skarsgård, who is essentially this very cynical cloak and dagger character that kind of like helped the early rebellion get funding and sort of like, you know, and he was willing to just assassinate whoever he had to get what he wanted. Anyway, the point is he's fighting this kind of guerrilla war against the Empire before there's even a rebel alliance. And there's a scene in which his assistant, who is still a child at the time, she wants him to like actually fight the Empire. She wants him to actually do something. And it's in the early days. And he's like, we can't oppose them right now. We're not going to do anything. We're going to keep our heads down. And she says, so we lose? He's like, that's right. Because we're playing to win, which means we're going to lose and lose and lose and lose and lose until we're ready. And I was like, fuck yeah, I love that. So yeah, we lost, think of it this way though. It's possible that a few years ago, this would have just been railroaded into woke slop, but instead they just canceled it and said, we're not even going to go down that road. That could be taken as a sign of progress, Fu Manchu, as bitter a pill as it is. It could be that this is a sign we're moving in the right direction, which is at least they didn't try and ram it through as woke slop. Because they could have just greenlit it, fired Jarrow, and filled the writer's room full of a bunch of Jennifer Sulk type wackos. And then we get something like The Witcher, you know. That didn't happen. So that could be progress of a kind.
Fan base. Is that not enough? I feel like Stargate is huge. Everybody knows what Stargate is. The rumor is the show writer Martin Garrow would not budge on compromising lore elements within the show for a wider modern audience as they did with Rings of Power and Lord of the Rings. Amazon instead wanted something new for the modern audience that's more accessible, reimagined with more casual sensibilities. They wanted to Rings of Power Stargate. What the fuck?
By the way, just for context, Assman only casually knows Stargate, but I actually watched every singular minute of it. So if there's even a chance this gets to those ghouls of Amazon producers, it's worth it. We have literally Daniel Jackson on Twitter naming names, including this Blair Fetter, a Netflix executive who only joined Amazon last February.
Oh my God, the soy, the abs. Oh my God. In the words of Rush Limbaugh, this pajama boy. Absolute pajama boy. Just a pajama boy poster child for the modern pusai male. Just an absolute pusai.
Zero history.
I'm a male feminist, and I think that it's important that we create a safe space for science fiction that appeals to everybody. I just think it's important that we elevate female voices.
With Stargate and decided to kill the whole damn thing.
You guys ready? Yeah, okay, great. Perfect.
Absolutely.
This had 1 million views 6 months ago.
But we can announce today that a brand new Stargate series is coming to Prime Video.
Wow.
What? It's so rare for the original creators to get to work on the new version of a show. It's just incredible that, you know, Amazon, MGM Studios, and Prime Video have come together and not gone in a totally new direction, that they have respected what we have all created. And when I say we all, I don't just mean like Brad, Joe, I mean like all of the cast and crew, all of the writers. And
didn't capitulate, and now you're gonna get this. So this is the original writer of Stargate. Nope, no, sorry. Gonna have to push back on this. Sadly, it's true. Amazon has elected to not move forward with the new Stargate series. There's not much that I can add beyond confirming what's already happened, but I will say this. Director Martin Garrow developed the Stargate series over 2 years, ultimately crafting a show that offered a fresh, jumping-on point of view for new viewers, while deeply respecting the existing canon. It was a series that avoided the pitfalls of several modern remakes and reboots by fully embracing the core of its predecessors. And based on that creative vision, the new Stargate series was greenlit. As of today, that official vision is no more. Hollywood is run by some of the dumbest people on earth.
Wait, let me go back. I want to see the rest of that tweet. Because this was Joseph Malozzi. I forget what his role was. Joseph Malozzi. Stargate. Let's see. Most noted for his contributions to SG-1, Atlantis, and Universe, and as showrunner of Dark Matter. But what did he do? This really is why AI is like, it's almost making a Google search pointless. You know? It's making a standard Google search seem like something from the 90s now. Joseph Malozzi, what was his contributions to Stargate? Because I'm just trying, I can't remember if he was, so he served as executive producer, writer, and showrunner across the Stargate franchise, contributing heavily to SG-1, Atlantis, and Universe. Joining the team in season 4 of SG-1 alongside writing partner Paul Mully, He wrote or co-wrote numerous episodes and helped shape the universe's long-running lore. So this is basically a founder of the larger Stargate canon, Joseph Malozzi. And this is his post on X saying, to continue, as of today, officially that original vision is no more. We'll never get the opportunity to introduce you to that world and those characters, or reintroduce you to and check in with some familiar faces from the past. My heart breaks for the incredibly talented writers who worked tirelessly to bring the show to life, for Martin, who maintained an unwavering positive outlook throughout, despite the challenges, and who always strove to make a show that would honor the fans while welcoming new audiences, and for the long-suffering Stargate fandom who waited so long and came so close to getting a show they truly would have loved. And some fucking pajama boy from Netflix torpedoes it. Oh, I fucking hate these scumbags. Patience, boys. Patience. Yes, yes. We can't save our IPs, but we can damn sure avenge them. It sounds to me like there's not much opportunity here for them to look for another studio. Like, could they shop this to Paramount or something? Like, that's what I'm curious about. But he sounds like he doesn't have any hope for even that, which is disappointing. Really disappointing.
As of today, that official vision is no more. Hollywood is run by some of the dumbest people on earth. The studio may revisit the IP with another showrunner, possibly.
Let's see. Fu Man says, Asmongold is in favor of eugenics. I don't want to hear his stupid face anymore. I never watched him, but didn't mind watching Cap watch him. Fuck that guy. Starfury says, how wouldn't they... Okay, I'll come back to Starfury. He says, be back later, maybe. I don't give a fuck what Gold thinks, which is fair enough. Come back whenever you like, Fu Man. Me personally, I do not require anyone I watch to agree with 100% of everything I think in order for me to like them, because if I did, I wouldn't watch anyone, because I don't agree with anyone 100%. But no, Asmongold is a center-left guy. And he's pretty level-headed and rational, and I enjoy a lot of his thoughts on things. I think that he is very utilitarian and materialistic in his view of almost everything, and I think that's his limitation. That's his limitation. But that doesn't mean his perspective isn't valuable. I find it very valuable. The way he thinks logically through things, I really enjoy. So if he's not your cup of tea, I totally get it. I don't need him to agree with me on everything. So, but I find him entertaining and a hell of a lot of fun. Starfury says, how wouldn't they like it? It had a proper female lead and was both capable and intelligent. Jack O'Neill intentionally played a bit of a fool whilst actually being an exceptional leader. Because Starfury, even that level, because it honors the character, it acts with sincerity, and it treats this story with an appropriate level of respect, myth, and meaning. That's why. And these leftist, wacko, pajama boy freaks hate that. They hate everything that Western civilization stands for. They hate it. They despise competent military structure. They want control of the perception of legitimacy. That's what they want. And so they are never going to allow something that is traditional. If they can interfere with it, they want to insert all their garbage in this. They want to put their stamp on it. They are mediocre, stupid people. They are unskilled, untalented, uncreative, stupid human beings who are very small in how they think, and they want to control everything so that they can feel important. And so a corporate pajama boy is torpedoing this because he can't control it. That's why. And if he had his way, he would have turned it into mind-numbing, poorly written garbage that would have added to the inexhaustible source of slop that we are served every day. That's why.
Someone who does not have history with it, they would give it a fresh new perspective. Why do they think this is going to work? How many times are they going to have to fail doing the same thing again until they realize that they're just lighting money on fire? Sounds like they were trying to, but you can't make Stargate today. There's no getting around the good guys being the military and the bad guys being evil on a genetic level.
Bingo.
So the entire premise is anathema.
Bingo. 100%. You're talking about the company that turned Sauron into a sympathetic thirst trap for freaking Galadriel. That turns the orcs into like homesteaders that are just trying to provide a better life for their kids. Oh my God. You're talking about the same kind of people that turned the alien xenomorph into a pet for a girl boss synthetic robot. These are the people that you want to sign off on a series that has the military as the good guys and the aliens as the bad guys. It will be a miracle if Henry Cavill is able to get his Warhammer 40,000 story made faithfully. That's going to be a miracle. I still don't 100% believe that's going to happen because I guarantee you Henry Cavill is just as adamant as the Stargate guys at being faithful to the Warhammer 40,000 lore without it being polluted. You absolutely know that they are going to pressure him to put a female space marine in it. You know they're going to do that. They are going to insist upon it. And honestly, Cavill is knowledgeable enough that he could even say, like, we can do a female space marine, but she's got to be part of the Sisters of Battle. You know, she's got to be one of them. And they will still fight him on that because they'll say, no, she should be one of the Imperial Guard of Astartes because women can do it too. And he'll be like, but in the lore, they're not. They're not the Imperial Guard. Well, then that's sexist. And why would the fascist Imperial Emperor, why would he be sexist? We need to portray the fascists as being inclusive. I fucking hate these people. I hate them, as Aspen would say.
That's exactly it.
This weapon is called a P90.
Carter, that target. What, 60, 70 yards down? Fire away, son.
Oh.
Major, demonstrate the weapon on single shot.
Yeah, I can see why they're not remaking this one.
This is a weapon of terror.
Oh, dude. This is more base than I thought it was going to be.
Intimidate the enemy. This is a weapon of war. It's made to kill your enemy.
I can only get so erect. I should not have said that. Oh my God.
Accept your gifts with gratitude and humility. Now, let us celebrate this new alliance.
That's the reason why they don't want to do that, is that they have to always reframe it as the military are the bad guys, Western forces or Western coded forces are evil, and there is some sort of noble, savage tribe that is smarter, more moral, better understanding.
I would rather not order you to do this, so I would like all of those willing to attempt the rescue of SG-1 to take one step very well.
And shit, why am I not watching this? Oh my God. Okay. All right. You made your point. I need to get back on the SG. I have not seen this. Damn, I miss stories about duty, military honor. the world is going to need this back, whether the feminist wackos think that they can live without this culture. They think that they can have a better world without this culture, and they are dead wrong about that. Whether they like it or not, this culture is going to have to come back at some point, or they can enjoy living in their beekeeper suits.
So yeah, no wonder they cut it. No wonder they canceled it. That's exactly what happened.
Fantastic. So anyway, actually clicked on that.
I saw today.
I'm not going to torture myself with another review of Disclosure Day. I hope Dad's not watching today. Hope you're not watching, Dad, because I shit on Disclosure Day. It's fine. I'll go see it. I'm going to go see it. We'll see it. Let's see. What else do I have in the stack of stuff? I pretty much covered all of the top stories. I do need to give you my thoughts on Masters of the Universe. Okay. I'll hit that briefly, but I think we're going to, let's see, where are we at today, Mr. Producer? We're at about 3 hours. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll close it out with God of War Laundry. I definitely want to cover God of War Laundry. But just to give you my thoughts on Masters of the Universe, because I did watch it last night. And I got to tell you, the first 30 minutes of this film is absolute brain-dead millennial humor garbage. Garbage. Bad. It is so stupid. The action scenes are bad. Now, even amongst that, there were a couple of moments where Man-at-Arms, played by Idris Elba, which, by the way, I actually really liked him as Man-at-Arms. I did. There's a couple of scenes where he's fighting bad guys, and they play sort of 80s heavy metal, like Saturday morning cartoon kind of like theme music. And I was like, well, that's great. That is great. I love that. It was kind of leaning into that, the 80s Saturday morning cartoonness of it. And when it was like that, I was kind of enjoying it. And that was a lot of fun. But then it quickly went back to Adam with a bunch of stupid millennial awkward humor. And it was just really bad. It was like bad modern video game writing. Just that typical quippy, take nothing seriously. Nothing is sincere ever. It's all just dopey, and we're all kind of a little embarrassed we're even making this stupid movie. It had that exact quality to it. It was a lot like the Minecraft movie, to be quite honest. Then, second act of the film, mostly slop, but there were these brief moments that actually were winning me over a little bit. There's a storyline in it about Man-at-Arms having failed to defend Eternia, and he was this total badass, but after this major failure and defeat he suffered at the hands of Skeletor, he's kind of become like a drunk loser but now he's sort of slowly reclaiming his old self and pulling himself back up and getting back on his feet and starting to fight again. And there's this great friendship blossoming between him and Adam that is actually really pretty good. And it was starting to really win me over. But then there's more millennial humor and more we're not taking this seriously. And that was really annoying. And I basically had concluded this film is garbage. I had concluded it was total garbage, and I could have told you it was going to be garbage. I just knew it. I knew that setting it on Earth was a bad idea, and I hate all of that. And I do hate all of that. I think that's the worst part of the movie. Everything on Earth was completely pointless. Totally pointless. We don't even know who raised him on Earth. His adoptive parents, whoever they were, are never mentioned because he got sent to Earth as a child. And he spent his whole childhood trying to find his sword so he could get back to Eternia. And as soon as he gets back to Eternia, it's a completely different movie. And what was the point of everything on Earth? It all sucked. Anyway, the Earth part of it. And honestly, it made the film less immersive to me. I think the purpose of Earth was to make it relatable. It's like, oh, we can look at this. We can look at this through the views of he grew up on Earth, so he acts like a guy from Earth. But then he goes to Eternia, and it's like Thor being thrown out of Asgard, and now we have to see him in small town America, and it makes it relatable. You know, I feel like they were kind of doing that same thing, but in reverse, right? It's like if Thor had been thrown out of Asgard as a child, grew up on Earth, and now he's returning to Asgard. The problem with that is that it made Eternia less believable, and everyone on Eternia mostly talks like people on Earth anyway. So I don't even understand that side of it. Like, they should talk like people from Game of Thrones or something, you know, or they should just sound different on Eternia, but they don't. They sound exactly like people on Earth. So it doesn't help with immersion at all. Third act of the film, Masters of the Universe, it actually suddenly became a pretty good movie in the third act. I have to tell you, like, the third act of the film is about Adam learning to actually wield the power of Grayskull. He has to actually kind of like learn to be a leader. There's some really kick-ass scenes of him being He-Man and kicking ass. And it's great. It's like masculine. He's a barbarian. He beats guys up with his bare hands. He uses his raw strength. Like, a lot of that's really good. Really, really good. And I gotta tell you, I'm no giant fan of Jared Leto, but Skeletor was pretty fantastic in the movie. He was actually pretty great. And especially in the third act, the showdown between He-Man and Skeletor is really good. There's a great conversation between them at the end, hero versus villain conversation that I sort of loved. I really loved it. And I thought, where was this movie for the first hour and a half? Like, this is the movie I would have wanted to see. So it's a really strange case of, like, it's almost as if it started out one way and it evolved in real time into a sincere hero's journey, Epic of Gilgamesh tale of Adam claiming the power of Grayskull and defeating Skeletor. And there's a really kick-ass payoff. There's definitely a conversation in this movie about, you know, He-Man having empathy and diplomacy and not just solving everything with violence. And at first it's kind of an eye roll, but it actually becomes a great payoff when He-Man reaches the point where there's nothing more to be said and violence is the answer, and he would have preferred it not to go that way, but it does go that way, and so be it. And that payoff is fantastic. Really fantastic. And I thought, I'm conflicted on this one because half of this movie is garbage, and the other, about a third of it, is a pretty good hero's journey He-Man movie. Overall, it's still mostly pretty dopey. But that wasn't necessarily a deal breaker because, let's face it, the He-Man cartoon is kind of dopey. And I think there's a way you could get at it and be somewhat sincere and still acknowledge a little bit of the dopiness and Saturday morning cartoonness of it, which I think the third act effectively does pretty well. So I guess what I would say of He-Man is it's about a 5 out of 10 for me. It's half of a garbage Minecraft type movie and half a pretty good Marvel movie back when it was the good days of Marvel. So I don't know what else to tell you. Like, it's a really, I think it's a case of there's a good He-Man movie in here if you just stop with the stupid millennial irony and sarcasm. Just stop with it. Stop it. Making everything an insincere joke does not make the audience accept it. That's not what makes the audience go with it. If you wink at the camera and say, yes, we know this is fucking stupid, just go with it, please. If we make fun of it, will you just accept? Stop with that. Just make a dopey movie about He-Man beating Skeletor and just let it be. I have the confidence to do that. And the third act of the film does, and it turns out to be pretty good when it gets there. So I think the movie deserves to fail, quite honestly. I'm tired of this IP mining. We did not need a He-Man movie. I did not want one. I was a huge He-Man fan as a kid. I don't need it in my life as an adult, but I would welcome it. if it were good. Unfortunately, it was too little too late in the third act, and so I generally support bad movies failing, and He-Man is a roughly mediocre movie, and they get what they deserve. They did not take it seriously. I would say overall, the number one problem across the board is a total lack of sincerity in storytelling. The Boys, the Fallout show, Masters of the Universe, the Minecraft movie, modern Marvel, modern Star Wars. There's a total lack of sincerity. There's a total lack of being able to just tell a tale about a heroic adventure. And this movie is definitely He-Man, Masters of the Universe, is very conflicted about whether it wants to be sincere or not. And that's part of the problem. So there you go. Okay, let's close it out with God of War laundry. We have a video from Andy Pants Gaming, and I quite enjoy this channel. So I thought we would react to this one together. So I guess apparently, now God of War, if you don't know, the original God of War is one of the most badass video games of all time. Like, there's nothing like just tearing the heads off of mythical Greek demons. Like, it's fantastic. It's as masculine a game as there's ever been. And, well, that was how it was going. Let's see how it's going now, shall we? Hat tip Andy Pants Gaming.
This guy's wife's boyfriend let him get on Twitter long enough to post this. It's genuinely wild how many people are making an absolute show of themselves over God of War Laufey. Game looks crazy.
The name of the game is God of War Laufey. The total pussification of Western civilization is complete.
Easy good. If you decide,
so much for female viewers. Am I right or am I right? If you're out there, Starfall, you're welcome. You're welcome here, madam. You are welcome here.
you aren't going to play because der girl, not Kratos, then you're probably going to lose out massively. Guys, these cucks, it's all bearded millennial cuck men, and they are the reason why we're getting this. Never forget that they are to blame. But guys, y'all are probably wondering, Andrew, what the hell are you talking about? And I just want to say I called this. 2 months ago, I posted in a video that this was about to happen, and PlayStation confirmed it at the Gay Has No Limits showcase. Guys, I don't know if you've realized PlayStation desperately needs a win right now. It's like $1,000 for a PS5. Steam Deck prices are going through the roof. Nobody's buying PS5s anymore. A lot of people have said this is the worst video game generation they've ever seen. And a lot of people like me, I still own a PS4 because there's literally they've given me absolutely no reason to buy a PS5. Their stock is cratering. And so PlayStation is doing really, really bad right now financially. So what was their response to this? A normal company would say, man, let's revive a storied franchise and remind fans of the PlayStation brand. And let's revive the base and bring them back to the PlayStation that they used to know. Nope. PlayStation didn't decide to do that. They said, let's take a beloved character from 2005 with 11 games in which he is the hero, and let's replace him with a woman. Dude, guys, I'm just like, if I can be honest, like, is anybody else just sick of this fucking shit, man? Like, look at this, dude. Kratos turned into a woman. Geralt turned into a woman. Joel turned into a woman, practically. Ghost of Tsushima turned into a woman. Uncharted turned into a woman. Hades turned into a woman. Even cartoon characters of whatever that game's called turned into a woman. Guys, and you know who's allowing it, and we're gonna get into them in a second, but it's these millennial beard cuck Reddit homos, dude.
Beard cucks. God, it's, listen, nothing at all against beards, because let's face it, we are in the age of beards. I personally identify more with our ancestors that took a more clean-shaven look, you know? And I'm getting a little bit of beard fatigue. That's just, I'm on dangerous ground here, but I feel that the beard culture, and this goes for everybody, and it's, you know, Matt Walsh is a big culprit in this too. The obsession with beard culture has gotten a little out of control. I personally think, because I see a lot of beards that a lot of dudes are very proud of, and it frankly looks like there's pubic hair on their face. And sometimes it's a little bit gross. I'm going to be honest with you. And maybe that's the point. Dudes should just look a little bit gross. But I just think, you know, it's got a little out of control. And I'm pretty much with Andy Pants on this. I think there's a case to be made for a serious problem with beard cucks. That is pussified pajama boys who think that having a disgusting pubic hair beard makes them super masculine and forceful in appearance.
Think that they're gonna get like a scrap of pussy from a woman who's gonna be like, "Oh, thank you so much for white knighting for me on the internet, dude." Like, women don't care, dude. And anyway, it's not about women in games. We're totally fine with women in games. We love Tomb Raider. What this is about, again, is you took our dude. You took based, masculine, badass, bangs all the goddesses, Kratos, and you replaced him with this ugly bitch with a talking cube and a talking sword.
Well,
nobody wants this shit, man. So I started a podcast recently, and I'm going to link it at the end of the show. I've just had to take a break from this stuff, man. I'm just kind of off in my own little world now, like playing my Xbox 360 games, because I think we thought this was going to end, right? We thought, oh yeah, it'll maybe in a year it'll be over. Maybe in 2 years it'll be over. Like I started this channel in summer 2024. I thought this junk was going to be over, man. And here we are, summer 2026, and this shit is still, it hasn't slowed down at all, man. Like, look at these ugly bitches that they're like, these companies hate money. That is the only explanation I can think of this. And bro, Asian studios just looking at you like this, like, man, what's wrong with the West? What's wrong with those Americans, dude? And it's because we've completely lost our balls, dude. The West has completely lost their balls. You don't even meet a man who looks like the man on the left anymore. You meet a man who wants to be a woman now. That's what our society is full of, dude. So anyway, yeah, 11 games based angry Kratos, and they thought, hey, let's turn him into a woman. This is going to go well. The fans are going to love this. Guys, there is no God of War anymore. The God of War is a mom now. She's a mom folding laundry. 11 games washed away. Masculine. There's not a masculine cell in Bros.
Let me see if I can find. Does Fleek have a video on this? Let me see if Fleek has a video. He's got this new video. I know where I'll go. I just want something a little more pithy. You know what I'm saying? There it is. Hat tip critical drinker by way of critical gamer.
Or even without Max in it, and it was a total... Remember when they made a Mad Max movie without Max in it, and it was a total disaster and nobody watched it and the movie totally bombed at the box office? Remember how it was basically a case study in totally not understanding your audience or even what made your own IP successful in the first place? Well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present to you Exhibit B, God of War Lao Fei, the latest installment in the long-running franchise that just got unveiled at Sony's State of Play event a couple of days ago. A game that that's already stirred up the fan base and the entire gaming internet into a firestorm of rage and backlash, and seems destined to do for the God of War franchise what Furiosa did for the Mad Max saga. Why? Well, it's simple really. It's a God of War game that doesn't actually have the God of War in it.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I mean, okay, there's other avenues you could explore in this world, I guess. I think most players would have accepted a game about Atreus and what he does with his life after parting company with his old man. The ending of Ragnarok definitely left that kind of storyline wide open. Instead, though, Sony decided to release a game about Kratos' dead wife Faye, or Lao Faye, or whatever the fuck she's called. Anyway, God of War
Oh my
Quest
God.
for Laundry
How did they make
apparently
this
spans the
beautiful?
events
They made this beautiful actress so absolutely butt ugly. How did they do that?
of God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, and picks up immediately after Faye's funeral, where she finds herself in the afterlife with all the other dead gods, deities, and where every other belief system somehow all exists in the same dimensional space. Fuck me, I can't wait to see Mormonism represented there. Show us the gold tablets, guys. Anyway, Laundry Lady goes on a long and probably very violent journey through the afterlife, beating the shit out of the gods and monsters that exist there with the help of a talking cube of jelly named Frank. And yes, I'm being absolutely serious here, so that she can save Kratos and Atreus from beyond the grave. You know when you just read something like this and think to yourself, why? What were they really expecting to achieve here? I mean, was this a story that really needed to be told? More importantly, was it a story that anyone really wanted to hear? Because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that when you think of a God of War game, you're probably going to imagine a big, angry, muscular, bald man who grunts a lot, tearing the shit out of anything and anyone who gets in his way, and maybe sparing a vague thought for boy, 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 boy. You're probably not going to think of a depressingly mundane-looking middle-aged woman who looks like the devs applied a 1980s Scottish housewife filter to the mocap actress, swapping quirky Marvel banter with a talking cube made out of jelly and voiced by Jack Quaid. Because truly, if you need some kind of unthreatening, unassertive, pussy-adjacent whipping boy for your story, then there really is no one better. The point I'm making here is that this franchise has been entirely defined by Kratos and his personal journey since the very first game, and trying to port that kind of long-running audience investment over to a new character that was only ever mentioned in some pretty brief flashbacks up until now feels like it's really not going to work for you. You're choosing to fight a battle that you can't win on a battlefield that's completely not advantageous to you. What do you think's going to happen? And yeah, let's be honest here, there's the whole modern audience thing to consider as well. Gamers, just like film and TV fans, have had some pretty unpleasant experiences over the years as their favourite male characters were swapped out, killed off, or just forced to step aside and make way for a collection of prickly, unpleasant, arrogant, invincible girl bosses that nobody asked for or liked. The result? Years of great storytelling and emotional investment flushed down the shitter. And for what? So the devs can pat each other on the back and tell themselves they're making gaming more inclusive? You know, if I was a cynical man, and my experiences with modern entertainment have made me thus, I might suggest that this whole game could easily be a cheap attempt to reframe Laundry Lady as the real hero behind the events of Ragnarok, saving the day for Kratos without him even knowing about it. Fuck. Then again, I could just as easily be wrong about that. And I hope I am, because the God of War series has been fucking fantastic in recent years, and I don't want that to stop now. Either way though, I think this is where a lot of the backlash is coming from. Like it or not, the God of War franchise with its insane levels of over-the-top violence, overarching themes of revenge, honour, personal growth and fatherhood has always been aimed squarely at one demographic. Men. Kratos is like the ultimate male power fantasy in a physical sense, but with something deeper and more conflicted beneath the surface that keeps him interesting. That doesn't mean women can't and don't enjoy these games, but it does mean that men are by far your target audience, and the moment they get even a hint that the franchise is being pussified, that their favourite hero is being pushed aside in favour of someone more diverse who appeals to modern audiences, or that they themselves are being disrespected or taken for granted, then they can and will fight back. Like I say, it feels like Sony have chosen a battle that they can't possibly win with this one, and in fact, it's probably going to result in heavy losses all around. I don't know, man. Maybe the real God of War was the laundry we did along the way. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
There you have it. Critical Drinker, as always, an excellent analysis. Good times had by all. But alas, all good things must come to an end. And on that note, we have reached our conclusion of this show. That's right. Captain's Cast is finite. But we will return. Perhaps in just 7 short days. We'll just have to keep inflicting defeat after defeat after defeat on AAA Gaming until the lesson is learned. Thanks for hanging out with me, my dear Star Sailors, Starnauts, shipmates, all, Starfitty, Fu Man Blue, Wrangler, Redoubt Productions, Starfall. Who am I not think? Crowbar the Skull was here, lest I forget. John stopped by as well. Thanks for stopping by, John. And all you lurkers out there. That's our show for today. I am Captain Garrett of the Swords of Starship channel. Checkouts, galaxyborn.com. Sign up for the list. Important announcements soon. And until next time, this is Captain Garrett saying, I will see you out there.